Chapter 132. Let's see who is more cruel. Chapter 132. Let's see who is more cruel. Usually, a pulse condensation period martial artist wouldn't have much interest in a preliminary skill of inscription. Because they had more advanced and stronger martial skills, these skills of inscription were just too weak. But once they knew that this skill of inscription was equal to a top-tier medium-grade human step martial skill, they became filled with jealousy. Of the Sky Fortune Kingdom's many martial artists, almost none of them knew a medium-grade martial skill. And even if they did, it certainly would not be a top-tier one. Which martial artist didn't hope that they would know several different kinds of martial skills? When the time came for them to fight their enemy, even if their first move was seen through, they would still have a second one. However, the most explosive part of this news was not the inscription symbol itself, but that the character who was creating inscription symbols turned out to be Lin Ming. He was the 7 profound martial houses genius of a century. He was also the Sky Fortune Kingdom's most dazzling star. Not only did he comprehend a martial intent, but he also possessed an exceedingly monstrous perception. Now, it seemed, he was simultaneously an inscription technique grandmaster who could draw up top-tier inscription symbols with skills of inscription. And his age was still several months shy of 16. Was this even possible? To Lin Ming's diehard fans, as long as it happened to Lin Ming, there was nothing impossible. To learn inscription technique was truly difficult. However, with Lin Ming's monstrous perception, even this kind of shocking miracle of becoming an inscription grand master at the tender age of 15 was not unexplainable. However, there were also those who had some understanding of inscription technique, in particular inscription masters, that were not willing to believe this. After all, inscription technique was an art and experience that one slowly accumulated over time. Even with godlike perception, that was still insufficient to reach such a stage. But just 2 days later, the Inscription Association gave a categorically clear response. This rumor was, without a doubt, true. The next day, Sky Fortune City's official government newspaper explicitly wrote, "The 7 profound martial house heavenly abode disciple Lin Ming, while working as a guest inscription master for the Inscription Association, is trading an inscription symbol supplemented with a top-tier skill of inscription for rare and precious materials." The materials that Lin Ming wanted to find were listed in the newspaper. The official government newspaper was generally only used to send official statements and news of the government. It was very rarely used for matters outside of the government's jurisdiction. This time, they had written about Lin Minute in order to help him find all the materials he needed as soon as possible. So, people could not help but believe. As far as pulse condensation period martial artists were concerned, a top-quality inscription symbol placed on a medium-grade human step treasure would greatly increase their combat prowess. With a medium-grade human step treasure, it would be able to completely absorb their true essence, and it might even cut off an enemy's low-grade human step treasure. If they had no weapon, then how would they fight? A medium-grade human step treasure was common. As long as one was willing and able to prepare 20,000 gold taels, they would always be able to buy one if they spent some effort. However, an inscription symbol that was worthy of such a treasure was actually extremely rare. In particular, those with an appropriately matching elemental attribute. Those could only be discovered, they could not be sought. Therefore, there were some pulse condensation period martial artists who had come to the Inscription Association to ask for an inscription symbol, even though they hadn't yet found a medium-grade human step treasure. Soon, martial artists all over began to utilize all of their connections to seek out the materials that were listed out in the government newspaper. Those martial artists that could afford this type of top-quality inscription symbol all had large fortunes, great strength, assets, aristocratic backgrounds, or deep family histories. Being such, it was only natural that they all had a wide web of influences and contacts. There were many large and respected families who had influences and connections that were even superior to those of the Crown Prince. With such a large force being launched to look for these rare and precious materials, its effects could be imagined. However, there were some individuals whose hearts pained to part with so much gold. Thus, they maintained an attitude of wait and see, hoping that the inscription symbols would be reduced in price. But, they soon began to quickly regret this. The materials required on that newspaper's list became fewer and fewer, and those that remained were the most rare and precious of all. As the required materials were slowly collected, Lin Ming's inscription technique became more skillful. Every day he would use high-quality materials to practice. In addition to the pure true essence stones he was using to restore his energy, it was burning through money. Lin Ming's inscription technique was becoming increasingly perfect. Before, he had just barely managed to draw up the top-tier inscription symbol cold ice fragments. But now, this process was already familiar and easy to him. Aided by his ethereal martial intent, Lin Ming did not neglect his true primal chaos formula. He had now reached the small success boundary of the second layer of the true primal chaos formula. His vitality grew stronger, and his true essence became increasingly thick. Lin Ming believed that if he and Ling Sen both made an all-out effort to compare fist strength, he would not necessarily lose now. After 3 more days passed, Lin Ming only needed a few more materials. But these materials were actually the most precious and difficulty to find. For instance, the invaluable 5th-level vicious beast blood had still not been found. Lin Ming looked at the list of materials that had been crossed out one by one, and felt a great sense of achievement. But as he looked at the last few, several of the most precious materials he needed, he felt some worries. If he did not find these within a short time, it would be somewhat troublesome. At this moment, a sound-transmitting talisman from the Crown Prince lit up and caused Lin Ming's complexion to fall. "Brother Lin, there's a matter that might affect your state of mind in practicing martial arts, so I did not want to tell you. However, I thought over it and reconsidered that I must bring up this issue with you. Several days ago, Zhong Guanyu brought people to where Miss Lan lives. His intention was malicious, but Mr. Liao promptly rushed over and rescued Miss Lan. I have arranged for Miss Lan to stay in a safe place at my palace. I suspect that Zhong Guanyu wished to use Miss Lan to provoke you into anger and attack your heart of martial arts, and in your duel 4 months from now, to use cruel and despicable methods and severely wound you so that you cannot pass the 7 profound martial house core disciple test. This Zhong Guanyu is someone who cultivates the divine acacia power. This cultivation method will cause one's possessive instincts to grow out of control. Moreover, Zhong Guanyu is a demented individual that has sunk into madness. I fear that in the future he will try to do something detrimental to Brother Lin. Brother Lin must be careful by all means possible. I have already sent some masters to guard the Lin family, and have also sent over some sound-transmitting talismans to help protect the safety of your mother and father." The sound-transmitting talisman stopped there. Lin Ming deeply frowned. A foreboding look crossed his eyes. Zhong Guanyu. He did not know this man. Although he had heard the name many times after entering the 7 profound martial house, he had never seen him, not even once. He had frequently seen Ling Sen and Ta Ku appear together. Obviously these 2 young men were good personal friends. Zhong Guanyu didn't seem to be very familiar with those 2. "I no longer have any connection to Lan Yunyu, and I will not interfere or question how she will live in the future or whom she will marry. But Zhong Guanyu, if you want to deal with me by moving against her, you are simply courting death. Even if you are a disciple of the 7 profound martial house and an elite of the Allied Trade Association, I cannot kill you, but I will make you pay a painful price." Wang Yuhan noted Lin Ming's gloomy expression and guessed that the reason was because of the sound-transmitting talisman from earlier. She hesitated and could not help but ask, "Mr. Lin, is there something wrong?" "It's not a big deal. After my last match against Zhu Yang, the 7 profound martial house pushed me to oppose Zhong Guanyu. Zhong Guanyu wanted to put his dirty hands on Lan Yunyu and attack my heart of martial arts. He probably thinks that 4 months from now he will absolutely win, so he wants to cope with me before I grow, and give me a severe wound so that I fail the 7 profound martial house test." Lin Ming did not conceal anything from Wang Yuhan. His story with Lan Yunyu had already passed. Naturally, there was no need to hide anything anymore. Put his hands on Miss Lan? Miss Lan, only a few people in the circles of the aristocracy knew of the matter between Lin Ming and Lan Yunyu. Wang Yuhan was a member of the Inscription Association, so she was also clear about this matter. She unconsciously covered her small mouth in alarm. If Zhong Guanyu had done anything nefarious to Lan Yunyu, then it would be too tragic. This Zhong Guanyu was someone who practiced the divine acacia power. This cultivation used women as objects in order to increase one's cultivation. It absolutely did 100 harms without anything good. Lin Ming shook his head and said, Mr. Liao arrived there in time, so everything's all right. Fortunately. Wang Yuhan let out a sigh of relief, and patted her chest with her small hand. That Miss Lan is now. She's very safe. Oh, that's good. Wang Yuhan wanted to ask Lin Ming about his view of love, but hesitated. She thought that might be too abrupt or offensive, and after thinking about it for a long time, still didn't how to start, so she didn't open her mouth. But at this moment, another sound-transmitting talisman lit in front of Lin Ming. It was once again a message from the Crown Prince to Lin Ming. Brother Lin, I would like to say some words of advice. According to my sources of intelligence, after Zhong Guanyu started cultivating the divine acacia power, he has made no small amount of progress. His strength has greatly improved from the past. Brother Lin, if you don't think you can fully grasp victory, it's better if you do not challenge Zhong Guanyu rashly. The divine acacia power is a very sinister and ruthless cultivation method, and its moves are the same. If an internal injury is left behind, I fear that Brother Lin may have some difficulty in passing the 7 profound martial houses core disciple test. The core disciple test only requires Brother Lin to achieve the peak altering muscle stage before you are over 16 years old. It does not require you to defeat Zhong Guanyu. This Zhong Guanyu is a very mad, crazy man. He will not hesitate in mutually wounding you. Brother Lin, please carefully think things over twice before acting, or else you might ruin your own future. The flame extinguished and coldly snorted in his mind. The divine acacia power is sinister and ruthless. I wonder if it is more sinister and ruthless than the pulse-cutting palm? I did not think that I would have to study the pulse-cutting palm so quickly. Now you have forced me to learn this. I feel really sorry for you. Since you want to give me a severe wound so that I will fail the 7 profound martial houses core disciple test, then I will waste your martial arts and destroy your manhood, so that you can peacefully and safely live out the rest of your sad days as a eunuch. This will also be a good deed for all of the girls in Sky Fortune City. This Zhong Guanyu was originally very strong. If his cultivation in the divine acacia power has progressed again, then I cannot lower my guard or take him lightly, or I might be defeated. After this body inscription symbol is complete, I must earnestly cultivate the heretical god force and golden rock shattering the void. With this 3-pronged attack, no matter how this Zhong Guanyu progresses, I will crush him so that he will never recover from this defeat. As Lin Ming was thinking these dark thoughts, Wang Yuhan suddenly became cold. She turned to Lin Ming and told him in a low voice, Zhong Guanyu, it's him. Millimeter. Lin Ming was surprised. Zhong Guanyu had actually come to the Inscription Association of his own initiative. Well done, Zhong Guanyu. You dare wish to lay your hands on Lan Yunyu, and you still have the courage to see me. Lin Ming followed Wang Yuhan's gaze. He saw a smiling young man wearing a silk snow brocaded gown with a Kirin design. The young man had a 7-gemmed crown on his head, and he was holding an ornate fan. The young man's skin was clear and fair, with a slightly ruddy complexion. His eyebrows were slanted upwards and his mouth was red like a cherry. He carried around a bit of a woman's comeliness, but without losing the smooth grace of a man. He was overall a very beautiful and handsome man. His looks combined with his warm and congenial smile gave the impression that he was a true gentleman prince. With this appearance, it was hard to think that his innermost feelings were so demented and full of malice. Chapter 133 Digging Your Own Grave. Chapter 133 Digging Your Own Grave. Chapter 133 Digging Your Own Grave. Early bone forging stage. Lin Ming instantly judged. His cultivation was not too far off from Zhong Guanyu's, and he was able to see through his cultivation level. In the 7 profound martial houses' heavenly abode, there were only 2 disciples at the bone forging stage. One was Ta Ku, and the other was Zhong Guanyu. Their true combat prowess outside of the 7 profound martial house was absolutely stronger than regular peak bone forging stage martial artists. Oh, Mr. Lin, what a fortunate meeting, fortunate meeting. After Zhong Guanyu saw Lin Ming, he closed his fan and walked forwards with a bright smile plastered on his face. Lin Ming smiled as he saw Zhong Guanyu's acting. You're a good one, Zhong Guanyu, much better than Zhu Yang. At most, Zhu Yang was just sinister, vicious, and subject to changing moods. But this Zhong Guanyu, not only was he demented, but his skin was so thick to the point of making one's blood boil. I wouldn't have thought. I really wouldn't have thought. Zhong Guanyu pulled up his robes and sat down on a stool in front of Lin Ming. I didn't think that Brother Lin would actually be an inscription Grand Master. When I heard this news, I just couldn't believe it. Wow. A 15-year-old inscription Grand Master. What kind of concept is that? Ah, it's such a pity. The legacies of the 7 profound martial house don't include an inscription master among them, otherwise with Brother Lin's amazing ability, you would have already been slated to be a core disciple of the 7 profound martial house. Zhong Guanyu began to swing his fan while he familiarized himself with Lin Ming's appearance. After Zhong Guanyu had discovered that the rising star Lin Ming was the guest inscription master of the Inscription Association, he was truly quite shocked. This Lin Ming's perception was just too terrifying. In such a short period of studying he had already become an inscription Grand Master. This caused him to feeling all the more uneasy, but since he was now enemies with Lin Ming, he could not retreat. Lin Ming had not spoken, but Wang Yuhan was already angry. In her life she had seen 2 kinds of men she hated the most. The first were the womanizers, and the second were the vicious brutes. But this Zhong Guanyu just happened to be both. Zhong Guanyu, you are not welcome within the Inscription Association. I ask that you leave immediately. Coming from an aristocratic background, Wang Yuhan's self-control was very finely tuned. Even if she spoke words in anger, there wasn't a trace of anger in them. Zhong Guanyu simply disregarded these words. He would never be mad against beautiful women, especially beautiful women that he had yet to conquer. Zhong Guanyu looked at Wang Yuhan and smiled, saying, "Miss Wang is so charming. I also like this straightforward temper. How about Miss Wang comes to my place another day and we can have a little chat and drink together?" Listening to Zhong Guanyu's words, Wang Yuhan flew into a wild rage. Not only did he ignore her, but he was also propositioning her straight in her face. Then, Lin Ming coldly said, "Sir Zhong, if you have no business here, then please leave. After 4 months, I will naturally pay a visit, but right now I am very busy, please do not bother me at my job." Haha, Mr. Lin, I heard that Mr. Lin is collecting the most rare and valuable of materials. I just so happened to bring some with me today. As Zhong Guanyu said this, he took out a small jar from his spatial ring. That small jar was filled with a dark, garnet liquid, very thick, as if it were some sort of heavy mercury. 5th level vicious beast blood. Lin Ming's eyes shined. He had already been looking for some 5th level vicious beast blood for a long time, but still hadn't found any. The Allied Trade Association, who had existed since before the Sky Fortune Kingdom was founded, truly had a profoundly terrifying capability. Haha, Brother Lin has such great eyes, this truly is 5th level vicious beast blood. I came here today to ask Brother Lin about a matter concerning inscription technique. Zhong Guanyu extracted a long sword from his spatial ring. The sword was 3 feet 3 inches in length. The handle was simple, and the sword edge was shimmering cold. Above the blade was a blue-colored flower pattern that looked as if it had been traced from 10,000-year cold ice. One could see with just a glance that this was an excellent sword. Lin Ming probed with his soul force, and was immediately shocked. High-grade human step treasure sword. This was the first time that he had seen a high-grade human step treasure. Perhaps in the entire Sky Fortune Kingdom, only figures like Mui and Wang Xuanji who were Hutian masters would have the qualifications to wield such a treasure as their weapon. This kind of treasure could not be bought in the Sky Fortune Kingdom. Brother Lin really has some extraordinary experience. Indeed, this is a high-grade human step treasure. I hoped to have an inscription symbol placed on it. I need an true essence increase of 50% inscription symbol, that also comes with a skill of inscription. If Brother Lin can achieve this, I can have the Allied Trade Association help Brother Lin look for several materials that Brother Lin is missing. 50% true essence amplification inscription symbol? Lin Ming frowned. I can't do that. Right. That's really too bad, but perhaps Brother Lin is looking for these materials for his master. Perhaps Brother Lin can request his master to do this. I will reward him greatly, Zhong Guanyu said with a bit hesitation, and waved his fan. Lin Ming immediately understood Zhong Guanyu's intentions. The reason he came today was to investigate the matter of his master. Yes, even if Lin Ming's perception was astonishing, it was simply impossible for a 16-year-old to become a self-taught top inscription grandmaster. Lin Ming's inscription technique was not part of Sky Fortune Kingdom's school of inscription technique, it was clearly from somewhere else. This was what Zhong Guanyu was dreading. Lin Ming said, "You do not need to worry about why I am collecting the materials that I am. As for my master, he is usually wandering the world, I cannot find him. So you do not need to count on him to help you." Oh, so it's like this, Zhong Guanyu's thoughts raced. Although he was demented like a rabid dog would still not dare to bite a tiger. He was indeed probing what sort of person Lin Ming's master was. He guessed that Lin Ming's master should have been a Hutian stage martial artist whose strength would be comparable to Mui. But this person's level of inscription technique actually surpassed Wang Xuanji. As for the Xiantian masters, he never thought of that. Xiantian stage martial artists were simply legendary existences. If they took in a disciple, how could they possibly have their disciple enter into the Seven Profound Martial House and have them struggle for the Seven Profound Martial House's resources? Not only that, but also compel them into a situation where they would have to undergo a core disciple test. A Xiantian master, even if placed in the third-grade sect, the Seven Profound Valleys, would be an extraordinary character. The Allied Trade Association, with their deep history and influence, would not fear a single Hutian stage martial artist. This because the Allied Trade Association had their own Hutian stage master. And it seemed that this Hutian master did not have a deep connection with Lin Ming. Before this, Zhong Guanyu had already investigated Lin Ming's past just to be sure. Lin Ming had always been living a very frugal and lonely life. He had used the most basic medicinal cures for a very long time. He had tried to sell his inscription symbols at the 100 Treasure Pavilion, but the 100 Treasure Pavilion was actually one of the Allied Trade Association's stores. What was most likely was that Lin Ming had encountered a fortuitous opportunity and found the inheritance of a peak Hutian master. Relying on his amazing perception, he had become a self-taught inscription Grand Master. This would explain why he had such strength at his young age, but was still poor and had to enter into the Seven Profound Martial House. Zhong Guanyu was insane and demented, but he was not stupid. With just a few clues, he was able to come close to deducing Lin Ming's true situation. It was just that what Lin Ming had found was not the inheritance of a peak Hutian master, but the inheritances of the topmost powerhouses within the realm of the god. Thinking this, Zhong Guanyu smiled, but within his smile was hidden a ferocious intent. He decided not to change the plan he had to deal with Lin Ming. He would make Lin Ming suffer an incomparably pitiful fate, so that his spirit would never be smooth again. Ah, that's such a pity. I missed a chance to meet such a senior expert of inscription. But, Mr. Lin, since I have already taken out this bottle of 5th-level vicious beast blood, I have no intention of taking it back. I would like to ask Mr. Lin if Mr. Lin can personally help me and guarantee me a top skill of inscription along with the highest amplification that Mr. Lin can achieve. If you request a specific attribute, then I can go up to 41%. If there is no specific attribute, then I can go up to 43%. Hearing Lin Ming say this, Wang Yuhan anxiously said, "Mr. Lin, do not help him. He will use your own inscription symbol that you place on that sword to deal with you." This was undeniable. The reason that Zhong Guanyu came today was first to inquire about Lin Ming's master, and second was to find an inscription symbol for his high-grade human step treasure sword. At this time, within the Sky Fortune Kingdom, Lin Ming's inscription technique was second to none. Haha, if Mr. Lin is afraid of helping me with an inscription symbol, then I may have the Allied Trade Association use their connections and go to Hualuo Nation to look. Although it will take a great deal of effort and a very high price, I think I will be able to find an inscription master that can conform to my needs. There were many powerhouses within the Hualuo Nation. Their level of inscription technique was correspondingly higher than Sky Fortune Kingdom's. But, to find an inscription master that knew the techniques to add a top-tier skill of inscription was simply impossible. At best they would have a few masters that could surpass Lin Ming's true essence amplification. Lin Ming smiled and said, "You don't need to taunt me. Since I've already decided to fight with you, then naturally I want to defeat you in your strongest condition. This is my Tao of martial arts. Lin Ming was certainly willing to draw an inscription symbol for Zhong Guanyu. He had just said a moment ago that the most important material he needed was some 5th-level vicious beast blood. If he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when the next time that he would find any was. It was not wrong that an inscription symbol could increase Zhong Guanyu's combat prowess, but a body inscription symbol would increase one's strength even more. Zhong Guanyu would never have even dreamed that the 5th-level vicious beast blood that he brought to Lin Ming's hand would be able to directly improve his strength and cultivation speed. Then I'll trouble Mr. Lin. Zhong Guanyu licked his lips. He did not think that Lin Ming would really have complied. His original intention was to have Lin Ming refuse him, and then frustrate his proud heart a little. After all, the might of a high-grade human step treasure coupled with the power of a top-tier inscription symbol was simply terrifying. Even facing Lin Ming's dark purple elastic iron spear, if he poured enough true essence into his sword, he could simply cut that spear in half. If the weapon was sliced apart, then how would he continue fighting the battle? Zhong Guanyu said, I do not need a specific attribute, and 43% amplification is good. But what if Mr. Lin cannot achieve this, or if Mr. Lin places some sort of hidden secret within the inscription symbol? Lin Ming lightly coughed and said, Humph, if you don't believe me, then why look for me? Doesn't your so-called Allied Trade Association have an inscription master? Even if they cannot draw up a skill of inscription, they can still examine the truth of the inscription symbol that I draw up. I won't ruin my proud work merely to ruin some high-grade human step treasure of your Allied Trade Association. Good. Then I'll be waiting here. Seeing that this matter had come to a foregone conclusion, Wang Yuhan sighed. Lin Ming was just too impulsive. Now was not the time to be swayed by personal feelings. Zhong Guanyu's strength was very formidable, yet Lin Ming was actually helping him create a top-tier weapon. Nicely putting it, he was simply being impulsive with his own emotions, but crudely putting it, he was just digging his own grave. Chapter 134 Small Success of Movement. Chapter 134 Small Success of Movement. Chapter 134 Small Success of Movement. Lin Ming took a short period to prepare, and then began the drawing process. Lin Ming had become increasingly skilled at creating these inscription symbols. But because this was his first time working with a high-grade human step treasure inscription, he was a little slower than usual. Altogether, he had used half an hour of time. As he completed the last rune of the inscription symbol in one breath, the nearly 100 glistening runes congealed into a flame-marked inscription symbol that fell upon the high-grade human step treasure sword. Zhong Guanyu picked up the treasure sword and tested it. He poured his true essence into it, and found that it really did have a 43% increased amount of true essence. Afterwards, the true essence congealed into the skill of inscription. It was simply a magnificent power. Haha. Good sword. Zhong Guanyu laughed. This Lin Ming is such a sucker. I really cannot wait to see, 4 months from now, just how Lin Ming will come to regret when he is brought to grief under the blade of this treasure sword that he personally placed an inscription symbol upon. I'm going to enjoy his expression and the way his mind breaks. I can't wait to see his expression and state of mind when I use this sword and show him the most vicious moves of the divine acacia power. When I find the right opportunity, I will give him such a severe wound that even his cultivation will drop. I wonder just how you will pass the 7 profound martial houses core disciple test then. However, what Zhong Guanyu did not know was that Lin Ming was actually having similar thoughts. Lin Ming looked as Zhong Guanyu flourished that skill of inscription and inwardly sneered. This Zhong Guanyu is such a fool, he's really saved me a great deal of effort. I'll wait for the 4 months to pass, to see how Zhong Guanyu will suffer a miserable defeat at my hands because of these 2 body inscription symbols. What a pity it will be that Zhong Guanyu will never know the reason he suffered a defeat, and that the 5th-level vicious beast blood he brought to me would play a major role in his downfall. I want to see his expression when I use the most ruthless martial skill pulse-cutting palm on his body. Not only will I sever all the meridians in his body, but I will destroy his virility. Then, I wonder just how you will cultivate that divine acacia power of yours when you're with a woman. Although these 2 people's thoughts were diabolically dark, It was impossible to tell from the surface. Especially Zhong Guanyu, his brilliant smile was beaming to the extreme. Right. Mr. Lin, I think there were some misunderstandings with Mr. Lin about Lan Yunyu. About Miss Lan's matter, I visited Miss Lan at that time to pay my respects, and it seems Mr. Liao was too excited and misunderstood my intentions. Is that right? So that's the case. Lin Ming sneered in his heart. He wanted to have a good luck at just what this Zhong Guanyu was up to. Let me speak the truth, I really, truly do admire Miss Lan, otherwise I would not have visited. Towards beautiful girls that I like, I will never use underhanded means. I will only pursue them. As Zhong Guanyu said this, an angry voice suddenly resounded. Zhong Guanyu, do you not even care about face? The pure-hearted Wang Yuhan had finally reached the limit of what she was able to bear. She immediately wanted to kill this beast in human skin. However, Zhong Guanyu's cultivation had already reached a high enough level that he was able to completely disregard Wang Yuhan. He self-servingly said, before, I heard that Mr. Lin liked to make bets with the people that he dueled, like Wang Yangfeng, Zhong Kang, and so on. Then, with this match of mine against Mr. Lin, how about we also make a gambling bet? How about this? Mr. Lin needs materials, and I just happen to have one, 7-star ore. How about I use this to bet with Mr. Lin on who Miss Lan belongs to? If I lose, then I will turn over the 7-star ore to Mr. Lin, and I will not disturb Miss Lan again. If I win, then I will also turn over the 7-star ore to Mr. Lin, but about Miss Lan's matters, Mr. Lin cannot meddle in them again. Whether or not I can move her heart will depend only on my own ability. So, regardless of the outcome, the 7-star ore will be given to Mr. Lin. But only if Mr. Lin loses will Mr. Lin never meddle in Miss Lan's matters again. How about it? Move Lan Yunyue's heart with your own ability. Lin Ming brightly smiled. It seems that no matter what, this Zhong Guanyu wanted to use Lan Yunyu to attack his heart of martial arts. If he lost in the battle 4 months from now, then it would be a defeat so horrible and appalling that he wouldn't be able to lift his head proudly anymore due to shame. He sneered in response to Zhong Guanyu, even if I'm sure to defeat you, I will never use a woman to make a bet. Lan Yunyu already has nothing to do with me. Who she marries is her own choice, it's none of my business. If your moral character was any good and you decided to pursue Lan Yunyu, then fine. But if you plan to deal with me by encroaching on Lan Yunyu, then I will not sit idly by and do nothing. It's true that I lack several materials, but I do not need the Allied Trade Association, nor will I ever. If I cannot find what I need, then it's just a bit of trouble to me. Now you can roll out of here. Hearing this, Zhong Guanyu's expression finally sunk. Oh. It seems that you really are determined to win against me? Good. Very good. Zhong Guanyu, you think that 4 months from now you will crush me so I cannot stand up from the failure, but what a coincidence, I also have the same intention. When the time comes, let's see just who is suppressing who. Haha. Very good. Since that's the case, 4 months from now, I will have you regret ever being born into this world. Zhong Guanyu received his long sword, flicked his sleeves, and departed. Lin Ming thought little of Zhong Guanyu's threats. He took out a true essence stone and prepared to restore his true essence. At this moment, Wang Yuhan could not help but say, Mr. Lin, you were too reckless. Although 5th level vicious beast blood is rare, it's not something that cannot be found. If we waited a few days, it would have been fine, but you actually helped that despicable Zhong Guanyu inscribe a symbol on his treasure sword. Even in the entire Hualuo nation, there might not be anyone that can create an inscription symbol of your caliber. That Zhong Guanyu has probably cultivated the divine acacia power for several months. In these months, who knows how many women have gone to his manor. It's impossible to know just how far his strength has progressed. Mr. Lin, you. Wang Yuhan was genuinely concerned. This battle between Zhong Guanyu and Lin Ming would definitely be a death match. If he lost, he would pay a truly terrible price. Zhong Guanyu had long been famous for his sinister and ruthless tactics. If something was to happen to Lin Ming smiled and said, Miss Wang, please be assured that I know all of this fairly well. But, I think that, Wang Yuhan simply didn't know what to say. She knew that Lin Ming constantly created miracles in front of her. She thought that nothing was impossible concerning Lin Ming. But in this duel involving his Lin Ming's personal safety, Wang Yuhan worried, afraid of what would happen. "Thank you, Miss Wang, for worrying over me. The truth is, if I really am not a match for Zhong Guanyu, then I'll simply withdraw. I'm afraid that there is no one else coming this afternoon. I will go back first." Lin Ming only drew the high-quality inscription symbols these days. However, he would only do so as long as someone brought one of the rare materials on the list. The materials were getting fewer and fewer now, and the customers that could find them were also less. So in the past couple of days, Lin Ming had only received a few jobs. He spent most of the time cultivating. All the time that Lin Ming had at the 7 major killing arrays was spent so that he could gradually become more aware of the concept of wind. Now Lin Ming had increased the difficulty from the 6th level to the 7th level, but even so, he still practiced in the violent wind tunnel every day until his appearance was miserable. Many of the disciples of the 7 profound martial house were aware of this strange phenomenon. As soon as this century genius of the 7 profound martial house entered the violent wind tunnel, at only 7 levels of difficulty, he would be beaten up until he was black and blue. This kind of matter was simply inconceivable. Those people that were jealous of Lin Ming said that Lin Ming's foundation was not solid, and his lower body was unstable. However, those that held this view were completely drowned out by the massive amount of frothing saliva from the Lin Ming fanatics. Did those insulting idiots not see how Lin Ming was motionless like a mountain on the battlefield? With which eye did they see that Lin Ming's lower body was unstable? These crazy fans believed that Lin Ming was using some sort of special method to practice. But what exactly was this special method of training? Nobody could actually explain it. A little girl that worshipped at Lin Ming's altar patted her heavy chest, wanting to understand. Senior apprentice brother Lin Ming is definitely practicing his get-hit ability. To let the violent wind blow against one's own body so that they freely hit the wall over and over again, this was the only explanation for the get-hit ability. To come up with such ridiculous reasoning, that young girl had a truly vivid imagination. This opinion rapidly spread. Regarding this rumor, Lin Ming could only force a smile. He did not want the publicity, but it was impossible to conceal the fact that he was turning black and blue from the bruising every day of hitting the walls in the violent wind tunnel. Even if he had very good healing medicine, it was futile to think that all his wounds and bruises would instantly heal. He could only bring his heavily injured body back to his room, soak in a medicinal bath, and then take the evening's time to remove the bruises and heal the hidden wounds. However, people began to gradually discover that Lin Ming's injuries were becoming less and less, even as the difficulty grew higher and higher, until a month later. Lin Ming had opened the 9th level of difficulty, but after he had stayed in for several hours, he had come out in perfect condition with no injuries. To a normal heavenly abode disciple, this didn't have much meaning. With someone at Lin Ming's ranking, they would easily be able to handle the 10th level of difficulty. But to Lin Ming's ardent Lin maniacs, their first impression was that he was practicing the almighty get-hit ability. He did not use any true essence or bodily strength to resist the force of the wind, and let his body repeatedly and wildly hit the walls over and over again. Since he now reached the point of not having any injuries, was his head now made of copper? They were afraid that if this was true, then Lin Ming had already become invulnerable to all damage. But if this were so, why would Lin Ming only open the 9th level of difficulty? What exactly do you think senior apprentice brother Lin is really doing inside? He only opened the 9th level of difficulty. If senior apprentice brother Lin displayed his true strength, that wind would only tickle him. I already told you that senior apprentice brother Lin is cultivating his get-hit ability, you just don't have faith. The young girl who had been the first to propose this theory grunted, showing her discontent at those that dared to doubt her. Senior apprentice brother Lin's get-hit ability is just too fierce, and it's not an exaggeration. To have that powerful wind of the 9th level blow him against the wall, and yet he still doesn't have a single injury, his body is simply steel now, he is invulnerable to all. Humph, this is nothing for senior apprentice brother Lin. Did you forget that he had used his empty palm to fend off Zhong Kang's saber? That's because he had used the body-tearing, bone-shattering fist. That was also the reason that Zhu Yang lost to senior apprentice brother Lin Ming. The disciple that was speaking seemed to be aware of many things. At this moment, another person also commented, "Have you seen that senior apprentice brother Lin's clothes when he goes in and out of the violent wind tunnel only have a little damage? Millimeter?" After this third disciple inadvertently reminded the other two, these two felt a chill in their hearts. Yes, when Lin Ming had gone in and out, he had worn the same clothes. His clothes only had a little damage, so he hadn't needed to change. It had to be known that when the violent wind tunnel reached the 9th level of difficulty, a common disciple could rely on their true essence and strength to resist the strong winds. However, because the wind speed was too quick, the clothes on their bodies would be torn. Chapter 135 Body Inscription. Chapter 135 Body Inscription. Chapter 135 Body Inscription. When the violent wind tunnel reached the 9th level of difficulty, a common disciple could rely on their true essence and strength to resist the strong winds. However, because the wind speed was too quick, the clothes on their bodies would still be torn. Soon after, their clothes would be ripped to shreds. If they were to choose the 10th level of difficulty, their clothes would even become completely split apart until they were finally stark naked. But Lin Ming's clothes were only a little damaged, he didn't need to replace them. This was simply an inconceivable matter. In the violent wind tunnel, the howling wind was like the roars of dragons and tigers. At the 9th level of difficulty, there were 10 feet tall rolling boulders that haphazardly tumbled around. Lin Ming's body seemed weightless in the forceful gales as he danced in the air. What was strange was that even though the whirlwinds were like a pack of surging ruinous beasts, Lin Ming's body only moved at a slow speed, as if he was a fish that was swimming against a mighty current. Lin Ming's eyes were closed the entire time. He felt the force of the chilling wind with his heart and soul, stabilizing his body as he balanced himself in the mistral air. The wind that fell upon Lin Ming naturally parted around him. Suddenly, a powerful wind vortex appeared around Lin Minute, causing his body to shake and fall towards a boulder. Under this kind of forceful wind, if an ordinary person hit the rock, they would have immediately suffered a painful death. Even a viscera training stage martial artist would have been heavily wounded. But as Lin Ming approached this boulder, he suddenly waved his sleeves and followed a breeze that flowed over the rock. Lin Ming's body drew beautiful arc as he bypassed this rock wall before coming to a stop in midair. This continued for several days. With each day, Lin Ming was increasingly like a fish in water as he hovered in the violent wind tunnel. As long as he used his true essence, his feet would not touch the ground, and he was able to sail through the wind. Only when his true essence was exhausted would he fall to the ground. After that, Lin Ming opened the 10th level of difficulty, but he was still able to barely keep his balance firmly in the wind. Even if there was suddenly turbulence from a whirlwind, Lin Ming was still able to maintain his form. He was just like a kite. Despite the howling wind blowing upon him, he was always steadily flying through the air. After several days, Lin Ming began to do all kinds of various movements and actions as he faced the strong wind, moving slowly as he borrowed the gentle force of the wind. At the start, Lin Ming's movement was slow, and the range of his motions was limited. The next day, his speed had increased, and the range of his movement had extended to dozens of feet. Afterwards, Lin Ming's speed grew with each day. The sphere of action which he could move encompassed the entire violent wind tunnel, even approaching the innermost depths of the violent wind tunnel where it was narrowest. 10 days later, Lin Ming had gained a basic understanding of the concept of wind, officially entering the first layer of golden rock shattering the void. Now, Lin Ming was able to move anywhere in the violent wind tunnel at will. The wind wasn't even able to influence him in the slightest. I've spent all 120 hours of this month's time at the 7 major killing arrays cultivating the golden rock shattering the void. Fortunately, my golden rock shattering the void has reached the small success level. Starting from tomorrow, I must practice the heretical god force and pulse-cutting palm and also attempt to break through to the altering muscle stage. I just don't have enough time. Lin Ming had already reached the peak viscera training stage. Although he hadn't set aside time to break through to the altering muscle stage, these days he had practiced his inscription technique, and during that time he would often deplete all of his true essence. Following that, he would enter into his ethereal martial intent state while revolving the true primal chaos formula. Under this sort of extreme state, it had been surprisingly good cultivation for his true primal chaos formula. Lin Ming's talent was average, but he would still be able to reach the altering muscle stage soon. This was all thanks to the true primal chaos formula and his ethereal martial intent. As he walked through the back mountains of Ju Mountain, with every casual step that Lin Ming took, he was able to cross dozens of feet. His toes gently tapped the thin blades of grass, and he would soar into the sky. By revolving his true essence, he was able to swiftly rise into the air. Like this, he could easily cross over a 20-foot wall. Feeling light with not even the slightest weight to his body, Lin Ming felt a great happiness. This concept of wind is simply too marvelous. Normally when a martial artist cultivates a movement martial skill, it would depend on the coordination of their true essence and bodily strength to increase their speed. Once they jumped up, they would not be able to maintain their speed and would inevitably slow down, but, with this concept of wind, I can actually increase my speed in midair. If I can cultivate the golden rock shattering the void to the 3rd or 4th layer, if I combine that with my increasingly thick true essence, then I might be able to fly. Usually only a Xiantian stage master would have the ability to fly, but I can as long as I achieve the pulse condensation period. As Lin Ming was basking in his excitement, a sound-transmitting talisman lit in front of Lin Ming, and the sweet voice of Wang Yuhan sounded in Lin Ming's mind. "Mr. Lin, we have finally found all of the materials that you want." Hearing this news, Lin Ming rejoiced. This was a double celebration. He could finally start drawing up the body inscription symbol. Lin Ming took a detour straight to the Inscription Association. After completing several scheduled inscription symbols, he finally received all the materials he needed. The materials were collected through the combined efforts of the Crown Prince, the Inscription Association, and the influence of numerous powerful families within the Sky Fortune Kingdom. This nationwide search for materials had finally finished after nearly an entire month. For these materials, the Crown Prince, the Inscription Association, and the various major families had spent a mind-boggling amount of manpower and financial resources. When he was collecting the materials from the Inscription Association, Lin Ming had a certain smug feeling as he saw the piles of materials worth hundreds of thousands of gold taels. Lin Ming wasn't in a hurry to begin. He knew that his current mentality was not suitable for drawing the body inscription symbol. The body inscription symbol was incomparably precious. It would take a very long time to create, and he absolutely could not afford to be even the least bit careless. Once Lin Ming had collected all of the materials, he first took a nap. After waking, he closed his door and placed a Do Not Disturb plaque on the outside. He washed his hands, burned incense, bathed, and finally entered the ethereal martial intent state. He sat in meditation for almost half an hour, and relaxed as his mind became completely calm. There were many martial arts that, after obtaining a top-tier cultivation method, would practice a similar ceremony. This was in order to eliminate their distractions, and let their minds become calm. But unless they were monks, while facing such a top-tier cultivation method that could affect the destiny of their entire lives, who could truly remain calm? However, the nature of Lin Ming's heart was much purer than a normal martial artist's. With the support of his ethereal martial intent, he was able to adjust his condition its perfect state, so that his heart and mind were able to singularly focus on a task. When Lin Ming finally opened his eyes from meditation, his eyes were shining bright like stars. He took the first material, the 7-star ore, and ground it, extracted it, and mixed it. The tools that he used were the best ones that could be found within the Inscription Association. These black-silver inscription tools would not injure or alter the nature of the materials in the least. Not only that, but these tools were able to perfectly work in conjunction with soul force, so that an inscription master could clearly feel any changes in the materials. Of these black-silver tools, each one had a value that was similar to a treasure. The entire set of inscription tools had a value above 20,000 gold taels. This set of tools was a gift to Lin Ming from the Inscription Association. As he processed the materials, Lin Ming was already completely immersed in the world of inscription technique. Each inscription symbol that emerged from his hand was like a living spirit that jumped out. Because of this month-long practice, Lin Ming was able to freely control his soul force like never before. He could divide his soul force into hair-thin strands, and guide the materials together so that each one formed a beautiful inscription symbol. This feeling was like sliding on ice. There was no hitch in the fluid process. Lin Ming was already completely immersed within a rapturous realm. In this state, he had reached an unprecedented extreme of skill. The sun set, the moon rose, the stars fell, and the rose-colored clouds of dawn reflected the new day. Lin Ming had unknowingly drawn the inscription symbol for an entire night. In the past, he was able to complete the symbols and lines in a very short time. But now, each symbol and line took at least an incense stick of time. In drawing these complex structures, he did so gingerly. In this period, Lin Ming also failed a few times, but he had already anticipated this situation. He had left the most precious materials for last. There were backups for everything else. Unconsciously, Lin Ming's soul force had already surpassed his natural limit. However, because his spirit was in such a state of high concentration, Lin Ming had entered into a state of self-hypnosis. He did not feel himself overdrafting his soul force, but this state was also extremely dangerous. Because he had gone past what his body could bear. There were stories of earthquakes, where children would be caught in the collapsing ruins. But, because of maternal love, a child's mother would be able to exert a godly strength and abruptly lift fallen walls that weighed 1,000 jins, thus rescuing their child. The reason this was possible was because of self-hypnosis. At the end, the mother would often exceed the limits that could be placed on her body, and she would be disabled or even die. Time passed 1 second at a time, until it was late morning. Lin Ming had drawn up the last symbol that he needed. As he gathered his hands together, the complex inscription symbol in the air began to superimpose upon itself, layer after layer, until it became one organic whole. It sent out a sparkling light as if it were a newborn star, and this star gently fell onto Lin Ming's left chest. There was a slight stabbing pain, as if he was being pierced by scalding hot needles, and then a mysterious 6-point star appeared on Lin Ming's left chest. Then, Lin Ming could only see black as dizziness erupted in his head, and he slumped to the ground. His exhausted soul force had resulted in a bone-aching sleepiness. As the body inscription symbol was finally completed, Lin Ming almost instantly fell into a deep slumber. In this deep sleep, he had severed all perception of the outside world. This sleep lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. An intense feeling of hunger finally woke up Lin Ming. He stumbled around as he crawled up on his knees. He only felt a splitting headache. This pain was what followed an overconsumption of soul force. He casually took out some food from his spatial ring to eat, his expression sluggish as he sat on the ground. He sat there for a long time, and then finally, slowly mumbled, "This is how?" Trying to remember, he vaguely recalled the process of drawing up the body inscription symbol. He lifted his hand and traced his left chest. On the originally smooth skin, there were some uneven lines. He lowered his head to look. On his left chest was a mysterious 6-point star mark. It had fused into one with the mark left from the magic cube. Chapter 136, Altering Muscle Stage. Chapter 136, Altering Muscle Stage. Body Inscription Symbols. I see, it was because I overtaxed my soul force from drawing up the body inscription symbol, so I fell asleep for such a long time. What time is it? The large hourglass in the cabin had already streamed cleanly to the bottom. He had apparently slept for at least an entire day. It's a good thing that I succeed. I misjudged the difficulty of the body inscription symbol. I didn't expect for each symbol and line to have taken such a long time. The one that I drew was the essence gathering symbol. The 2 body inscription symbols that Lin Ming had planned to place on himself were the essence gathering symbol and the strife seal. The essence gathering symbol was placed on the chest, and could enhance the speed at which true essence was gathered, thus increasing a martial artist's cultivation rate. The strife seal was placed on the right hand, and by improving how true essence would flow, it could increase the strength of true essence, and improve a martial artist's martial skill or striking power. Lin Ming's cultivation was the most important right now, so he had first drawn up the essence gathering symbol. Lin Ming sat in meditation and tested how much better he could gather true essence. Really, It seemed because of the presence of the essence-gathering symbol he was able to more easily absorb the strength of the world, and the speed at which he gathered true essence had increased significantly. It's increased by at least 40%. It seems because of the self-hypnosis state, I overdrew my body and injured myself because my soul force was too lacking. But now that I've completed the essence-gathering symbol, it's exceeded my expectations. Lin Ming felt a great happiness. A 40% increased rate was simply astonishing. It had to be known that a normal medium third-grade martial artist, if they started cultivating at the age of 12, and were not supported by any special top-quality pills, then they would be able to reach the early bone-forging stage by the time they were 40 years old. This period was at least 30 years. But for a medium fourth-grade martial artist, if they started in a similar situation at 12 years of age and also didn't utilize any top-tier pills or cultivation methods, they would reach the early bone-forging stage when they were 30 years old. This period was 20 years. The truth was, this 10-year disparity between a single grade of talent could also be considered a 50% difference in the speed of cultivation. But this 50% difference was actually of great importance. A 30-year-old martial artist was in the prime of his youth. They had a hope of breaking through to the pulse condensation period, thus extending the period of their growth, and their strength would also greatly improve. They would be like a carp that became a dragon. But a 40-year-old bone-forging stage martial artist would often have to face the dire consequences of physical aging. Their body strength would decrease, and they would be weaker compared to younger martial artists at the same level. Moreover, it would be much more difficult for them to have any progress, let alone break through to the pulse condensation period. So this essence-gathering symbol that could increase one's cultivation speed by 40% was simply extraordinary. The essence-gathering symbol is only the most simple of body inscription symbols. Later, when my cultivation grows, I also have the possibility of drawing up even more formidable body inscription symbols. When that time comes, my talent will no longer be a barrier. When I drew up the essence-gathering symbol, I almost damaged my soul. This strife seal can wait until my strength increases again before I draw it. In any case, the strife seal is only a body inscription symbol that enhances one's own strength. As long as I successfully draw it up before my match with Zhong Guanyu, then it's not too late. Day after day, Lin Ming would go to the icy pond waterfall to cultivate the true primal chaos formula. He was able to sit within the 10th level of difficulty in the ice pond waterfall for 4 to 5 hours at a time. Under the dual abilities of the essence-gathering symbol and his ethereal martial intent state, Lin Ming's cultivation speed experienced a tremendous leap forwards. In addition to the top heart mantra of the true primal chaos formula, Lin Ming's true essence had been polished to a rich and pure state. In the past, because he had taken the top-tier pills, there had been some impurities within his true essence. But those pills had already been completely refined by Lin Ming. Lin Ming's true essence was pure to such a degree that it was even better if compared to most peak bone forging stage martial artist. After half a month passed, it was the second month of the 4 months before the match. As Lin Ming immersed himself within the ice pond waterfall and entered into his ethereal martial intent, he discovered that his true essence had already completely spread throughout his viscera, and had begun infiltrating deep into his muscle and bones. Fourth stage of body transformation, altering muscle. Lin Ming was absolutely delighted, but he was not too surprised. The Martial House Core Disciple test required that Lin Ming reach the peak altering muscle stage before he was over 16 years old. But if he continued at his current rate of cultivation, that was a goal he would be able to effortlessly achieve. Normally, when a martial artist was advancing to a new stage, they would experience a bottleneck. The reason for this bottleneck was usually because their foundation was not solid. For instance, a normal viscera training stage martial artist, if they did not have a top-quality cultivation method, or were not able to go to the ice pond waterfall and have true essence temper every part of their body, then they would experience a bottleneck when breaking through to the altering muscle stage. If there was only a small amount of true essence that permeated their organs, then it would be even more difficult for that true essence to sink in any further. Even if they barely managed to break through to the altering muscle stage, if their altering muscle stage foundation was not steady, then the result would only be that breaking through to the bone forging stage would be that much more difficult. Finally, They would be completely unable to take that final step into the pulse condensation period. If one's foundation was not solid, then as they strived towards greater heights of cultivation, it would become increasingly difficult. But Lin Ming did not have this kind of problem at all. His true essence had already penetrated deep into each and every nook and cranny of his internal organs, and had even entered into the innumerable tiny units within his body. For him, he would be absolutely successful in breaking through to the altering muscle stage, bone forging stage, or even the pulse condensation period. As long as he managed to accumulate enough true essence, he could break through. As he pushed the true primal chaos formula to its limit, Lin Ming was able to clearly feel the wonderful feeling of true essence sinking into his muscles and bones. There were many martial artists that did not have a steady foundation, and would only have bitter experiences during their attempts to break through their bottlenecks. If they wanted to enter the altering muscle stage, they would often need to push their true essence inwards, and forcefully fuse their true essence into their muscles and bones. They would have to repeat this process slowly as they fused one little part at a time, and very slowly reach the altering muscle stage. This was the reason why so many martial artists were stranded at the peak viscera training stage for several years. But this did not apply to Lin Ming. His internal organs had already reached the maximum of how much true essence could be absorbed. This was just like a reservoir that was already filled with water. Because the reservoir could not accommodate more true essence, then that true essence would leak over and naturally seep into the muscle and bones, fusing with them. Of these two different methods of breaking through a bottleneck, it was easy to see which was good and which was bad. Lin Ming's breakthrough lasted for 3 full days. During these 3 days, Lin Ming would cultivate at the icy pond waterfall for 6 hours every day. He used a grand total of 18 hours in order to fully integrate the true essence into his muscle and bones. What the so-called altering muscle stage cultivated were the tendons and the periosteum. As he recovered from his long meditation, Lin Ming felt that the true essence within his body moving incessantly, like an endless river. Resisting the frosty chill of the icy pond waterfall had become an easy task for him. As he emerged from the icy pool, Lin Ming casually flicked his palm. The edge of his palm formed an indistinct faint blue ripple, just like waves in water. As Lin Ming saw this rippling blue wave, his eyes shined. True essence realization. I didn't expect that I would have reached the boundary of being able to realize my true essence. Usually only a martial artist at the pulse condensation period, who had extremely thick true essence, would be able to manifest their true essence. Or, there were also some heaven-gifted rare genius peak bone forging stage martial artists that could just barely achieve this. But Lin Ming had been able to manifest his true essence as soon as he reached the early altering muscle stage. Throughout the entirety of Sky Fortune Kingdom's history, he was the first one to be able to do this. Lin Ming clenched his fist, and felt a sense of smugness. I've just reached the early altering muscle stage and yet I've achieved the boundary which normally only a pulse condensation period martial artist could achieve. I wonder just how far I am compared to an ordinary pulse condensation period martial artist. When I step into the peak altering muscle stage, will I be able to defeat a normal pulse condensation period martial artist? Lin Ming was not sure whether or not he could defeat the strength of a powerhouse of the pulse condensation period, but to defeat Lin Sen, who was at the peak altering muscle stage, Lin Ming had a degree of confidence. Even though Ling Sen had his Ashura martial intent, how could that even compete with the chaotic virtues combat meridians? To Lin Ming, reaching the peak altering muscle stage from the early altering muscle stage was only a matter of time. Oh, junior apprentice brother Lin, what an infrequent visitor. The Deacon senior apprentice brother who was in charge of the Wood Puppet Lane major killing array saw Lin Ming, and immediately welcomed him with a laugh. Of the 7 profound martial houses, 7 major killing arrays of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and thunder, the Wood Puppet Lane killing array belonged to the wood element. Lin Ming had only cultivated at the Icy Pond waterfall and the Violent Wind Tunnel. This was his first time coming to the Wood Puppet Lane. Therefore, the Deacon senior apprentice brother who managed the killing array was especially enthused and warm as he greeted Lin Ming. One never knew, perhaps several years from now, this Lin Ming might even become the martial housemaster of the 7 profound martial house. If that time ever came, then this Lin Ming would be his superior's superior, It was natural that he would want to curry favor and flatter him. Senior apprentice brother, forgive me, but this is embarrassing to say, I just decided to come here, without having made an appointment in advance. I wonder if you have any spots that are open yet? After Lin Ming had broken through to the altering muscle stage, he wanted to test his own strength. In the 7 major killing arrays, Golden Soldier Hall and Wood Puppet Lane were the 2 major killing arrays where one could practice their combat skills. Of course there is a spot open for you, haha, whenever senior apprentice brother Lin comes, there will always be a spot open just for you. The deacon's senior apprentice brother said with a congenial smile. Thank you, senior apprentice brother. Then, if I could trouble the senior apprentice brother to help me open the 11th level of difficulty. 11th level of difficulty? The deacon's senior apprentice brother stared at him with wide eyes. Generally speaking, those disciples that were in the top 10 of the ranking stone would enter the 11th level of difficulty. Did Lin Ming's strength already enter into the top 10 rankings? The deacon apprentice brother felt this was inconceivably incredible, but suddenly he saw Lin Ming's cultivation and his eyes widened even more until they were like giant white circles. Junior apprentice brother Lin, you've already broken through? Altering muscle stage. Millimeter. Yesterday I had a lucky breakthrough. The deacon's senior apprentice brother unconsciously gulped. The bottleneck between the viscera training stage and the altering muscle stage was not too big nor too small. To a genius, breaking through this bottleneck was bound to happen sooner or later. But it shouldn't have happened so quickly. He vaguely remembered that Lin Ming had broken through to the viscera training stage just a few months ago. To only use a few months to break through to the altering muscle stage from the viscera training stage, what the hell was this kind of speed? This deacon senior apprentice brother's talent was already quite good, but it had taken him nearly 3 years to achieve this. This young man had already reached the altering muscle stage when he was only 15 years old, and still had more than a year left to reach the peak altering muscle stage. Lin Ming might even be able to reach the bone forging stage. It was already 90% guaranteed that he would pass the 7 profound martial house's core disciple test. A core disciple of the 7 profound martial house that came from Sky Fortune Kingdom. The deacon senior apprentice took a deep breath. With just a nod of his head, Lin Ming could become the absolute overlord of the entire Sky Fortune Kingdom. Senior apprentice brother, please open the 11th level of difficulty. Lin Ming saw the deacon senior apprentice brother in a daze, and politely reminded him. Oh, yes, yes. The deacon senior apprentice brother responded, and then fiddled with an array disc to open the 11th level of difficulty for the Wood Puppet Lane. Chapter 137, The Might of Golden Rock Shattering the Void. Chapter 137, The Might of Golden Rock Shattering the Void. Wooden Puppet Lane was built into the face of a mountain. There were altogether 12 caves, and each could be opened by themselves. These caves were created by Xiantian masters cutting through the mountain themselves. One could still see glaring sword marks. Wood Puppet Lane was filled with wooden puppets. The deeper one went, the more formidable these puppets would be, and the more there were. These wooden puppets were from one of the 7 inheritances of the 7 profound valleys, the masterpieces of the puppet faction. The puppet faction was a very mysterious faction within the 7 profound valleys. Sky Fortune Kingdom's 7 profound martial house did not have any of these factions' cultivation methods or secret techniques, so they had never had much exposure to it. Seeing the crowds of wooden puppets increase, Lin Ming did not hurry to attack. He hadn't even taken out the penetrating rainbow spear. After he had reached a location with more than 20 puppets, Lin Ming rushed in, unarmed. A wooden puppet aimed a club at Lin Ming. The weapons that these wooden puppets all used were completely made of wood, such as wooden clubs, or wooden sabers. A wooden weapon may not have seemed like a very dangerous weapon, but even so, if one was pounded by a wooden club or saber, they would still be dealt a crushing blow and vomit blood from a severe wound. Lin Ming watched as a wooden club came at him and waited until it was just in front of him. He closed his eyes and gently pushed with his toes. His body flickered backwards half a step, and as a result, the descending club that would have smashed Lin Ming's nose was just avoided with not too much or too little distance. Whiz! Another wooden puppet cut towards Lin Ming's waist with a wooden saber. This time, Lin Ming leapt into the air. His body floated in the air, and because of inertia, he floated backwards. Another wooden puppet cut towards Lin Ming's waist from behind, and this attack didn't seem as if it could be evaded. But then Lin Ming gently waved his sleeves, and his body became like a leaf that was blown away by a gently breeze. It seemed as if he completely violated the rules of physics, and he appeared 2 feet to the side, dodging that hidden saber by just a hair's width once more. Swish, swish, swish. The wooden puppet continuously attacked Lin Ming, but Lin Ming did not counter. Instead, he dodged the attacks from the wooden puppets as if he was taking a leisurely stroll through a park. There were more than 20 puppets, but only 7 or 8 were able to attack Lin Ming at the same time. But these 7 or 8 puppets had very scary attacks. Their moves and combinations interwove with each other, and there almost wasn't an angle to dodge. However, Lin Ming was able to mysteriously avoid all these attacks. It was as if the puppets did not have a weapon in their hands, but instead a fan. Lin Ming was like a light feather. Each time the wooden puppets brandished their weapons at him, the wind of the passing weapons would blow him away. This was the concept of wind that Lin Ming had comprehended. A waving fan would never be able to touch a floating feather, and like this, a wooden puppet's weapon would never be able to touch even the hem of Lin Ming's robe. Wonderful. Very good. Come again. Lin Ming wholly immersed himself in the depths of the concept of wind. This was the first time that he had applied the golden rock shattering the void movement ability to actual combat. These fellows are just a bit too weak. As Lin Ming thought this, his body rose like a rock, rising several dozens of feet before he landed on a cliff and flew towards the depths of Wooden Puppet Lane. At this time, outside of Wooden Puppet Lane, the Deacon Senior Apprentice brother was still in shock, as he stared unblinking at the true essence stones in the heart of the major killing array. Every array formation had an array heart. This was often where the array was supplied with energy from. The puppets of Wooden Puppet Lane were able to self-repair and regenerate, but this regeneration required the consumption of true essence stones in order to power it. There were some abnormal individuals, like Ling Sen and Ta Ku, who would cause a quick consumption of true essence stones after entering Wood Puppet Lane. Sometimes, just looking at this wasteful sight made the Deacon Senior Apprentice brother's heart hurt deeply. But Lin Ming had already gone in for such a long time, yet he had only consumed a small number of true essence stones. Obviously Lin Ming was struggling in dealing with these wooden puppets, and had only managed to take down a few. Realizing this, the Deacon Senior Apprentice brother let out a soft sigh of relief. Fortunately, Junior Apprentice brother Lin isn't that abnormal. Indeed, it seems that he still isn't able to challenge the 11th level of difficulty of Wood Puppet Lane in such a short time. Junior Apprentice brother Lin is just too impatient. His strength isn't high enough yet for him to jump straight to the 11th level of difficulty. But in this Wood Puppet Lane killing array, if the difficulty is too high, one could be easily injured, or might even die. I estimate that another half-incense stick of time will pass before Junior Apprentice brother Lin decides that he cannot last in there any longer, and comes out to change the difficulty to the 10th level. The Deacon Senior Apprentice brother picked up the array disc, and waited for Lin Ming to come out and ask him to change the difficulty. But after waiting half an hour, there was no news of his exit. What do I do? The deacon was a bit confused. The array heart was still only consuming true essence at a very slow speed. He even suspected that Lin Ming had encountered some troubles inside and been killed by the wooden puppets. What's going on? Is it possible that Junior Apprentice brother Lin is hiding in some corner of Wood Puppet Lane? Was that the reason that he had opened the 11th level of difficulty? At this moment, Lin Ming had already reached the deepest depths of Wood Puppet Lane. Here, the wooden puppet's strength was at a much higher level, and they were also large. What was most peculiar though, was that the surface of their bodies was a strange dark red, as if they had been dyed in blood. Facing so many more advanced puppets, Lin Ming felt an intense amount of pressure. As he dodged the wooden puppet's intense attacks for a long time, he was beginning to gasp for breath even with the support of the true Prima Chaos formula. Almost there. Lin Ming had practiced his movement for almost an entire hour. He felt that this was enough, and thinking this, he turned his hand and extracted the penetrating rainbow spear from his spatial ring. Holding the spear in both hands, Lin Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. The countless tiny units in his body began to synchronize their breathing to the same frequency, as his thick true essence began to shake like a mountain. In that moment, his imposing aura instantly erupted. Total annihilation. Boom 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 boom. With the formidable strength of altering muscles cultivation level, combined with his fiercely vibrating true essence, there was an explosion of sounds in succession, as the penetrating rainbow spear swept out, and the puppets were all sent flying backward. Oh, not dead. Lin Ming found that besides the puppet that had borne the majority of his attack and shattered to pieces, the other puppets had only fallen to the ground, and were beginning to crawl back up. Good resilience. No one understood the terrifying destructive power of flow like silk more than Lin Ming. Back when he was at the Viscera training stage, a single strike from his spear was able to turn a thick stone column dozens of feet high into nothing more than crumbled rock. Now that his strength had increased even further, he might even be able to split apart a hall with just a few spear move. But now that he had struck at these wooden puppets, only one had died. The more resilient they are, the better. Today I will enjoy this fight. After officially stepping into the altering muscle stage, in addition to reaching the large success of Golden Rock shattering the void, Lin Ming really needed a battle to examine his own strength and also allow his body to adapt to the change in his true essence and physical strength. Bang bang bang. Wooden puppets began to blow up one after another. The penetrating rainbow spear was like a purple-black dragon that was churning in the ocean waves. Haha, fun. Come on, more. Lin Ming flourished penetrating rainbow with grandeur. Each spear move was imbued with the flow-like silk concept, and every hit would cause a wooden puppet to explode into pieces. In fact, what Lin Ming did now know was that when other martial artists entered wood puppet lane, most could not even injure these puppets, they could only knock them down. Even if it was Ling Sen, who had such an abnormally overwhelming combat strength, he could only cut apart a wooden puppet with his sword. He simply could not be like Lin Ming, whose every spear thrust would cause a wooden puppet to burst into fragments. The wooden puppets could repair themselves, but this repair required the consumption of true essence stones as the energy source. If a wooden puppet was knocked down, it would only be slightly damaged, and be able to repair itself with very little energy. Even if they were cut apart by Ling Sen, it wouldn't require too many true essence stones to repair. But when Lin Ming had shattered them his spear, this was truly a tragedy. Not only did the repairs take time, but the consumption of true essence stones would be terrifying for a long time afterward. Outside Wood Puppet Lane, the Deacon's senior apprentice brother was still waiting for Lin Ming to come out and lower the difficulty to the 10th level. As he casually glanced at the true essence stones in the array heart, the scene scared and dumbfounded him. He could only helplessly look on at the true essence stones' energy levels plummeting. The true essence stones began to change at a speed visible to the naked eye. Starting from its original lustrous crystal-like appearance, it gradually turned a dull white, and then after some time, peng, it exploded. The array would automatically replace it with a new true essence stone, but the result was still the same. In less than half an incense stick of time, another true essence stone exploded. What was happening? Even if Ling Sen was here, the consumption rate would not be so high. Was it Lin Ming? No, impossible. Absolutely impossible. The Deacon's senior apprentice brother looked at the true essence stone at the center of the array heart and constantly swallowed as he panicked. Although logic told him that it was impossible for Lin Ming to be so abnormal, the truth was already placed in front of him. This, just what the hell is this? The Deacon's senior apprentice brother cried in his heart. With so many true essence stones being suddenly consumed, he simply could not find a good explanation. Millimeter? Where'd they all go? Lin Ming had been enjoying destroying all the wooden puppets, but now the originally threatening and aggressive wooden puppets had been reduced to just 2 or 3. They were just as dangerous as cats now, and the rest that still hadn't shattered yet were missing arms and legs. This wood puppet lane sucks. Is this everything? It's the 11th level of difficulty. Lin Ming was speechless. In his mind, this 11th level of difficulty was unworthy of the name. If the Deacon's senior apprentice brother knew Lin Ming's thoughts, he probably would have wanted to smack his head against a wall and kill himself. The puppets of Wood Puppet Lane could repair themselves after they were destroyed, But Lin Ming had exploded them with his spear, and turned them completely into scattered pieces. This repair would just take a long time. Although I couldn't fight to my heart's content, I've about gotten a good grasp on my current strength. Right now I still might not be able to compare to Zhong Guanyu, but I should absolutely not have a problem entering the top 10 of the 10,000 killing array rankings. First I'll participate in this coming 10,000 killing array assessment, and take the heavy profound soft spear before planning my next move. Lin Ming put away his penetrating rainbow spear, and walked out of Wood Puppet Lane. Chapter 138 Heavy Profound Soft Spear. Chapter 138 Heavy Profound Soft Spear. Chapter 138 Heavy Profound Soft Spear. The Deacon Senior apprentice brother was a bit sluggish as he watched Lin Ming come out of Wood Puppet Lane. He still hadn't figured out just what the hell had happened inside a moment ago. Was there a malfunction in the Wood Puppet Lane array? How come the true essence stones were consumed so quickly? Junior apprentice brother Lin, are you alright? The Deacon Senior apprentice froze for a long time before he hesitantly asked him. If there was a breakdown in the array formation, then did junior apprentice brother Lin encounter any problems in there? Me? I'm fine. Lin Ming asked, somewhat puzzled, but he didn't dwell on this much. Thank you senior apprentice brother. I will leave first. I'll come by another day and thank you for your hospitality. Lin Ming turned around and departed. The Deacon Senior apprentice brother was still in a daze. He thought about the possibilities for a while, and then suddenly moved. He picked up his robes and scurried into the Wood Puppet Lane cave that Lin Ming had just been in a moment ago. This scene left him petrified on the spot. He only saw scattered parts all throughout Wood Puppet Lane. There were broken wooden puppets everywhere, with hands and feet haphazardly tossed around or pulverized to little splinters. This is, what the hell did Lin Ming do? His throat violently spasmed. This array formation had broken down. This was certainly an array formation breakdown. But, if the wooden puppets were broken like this, could they still be repaired? After Lin Ming had reached the altering muscle stage, he hadn't invested too much of his time in cultivating the true primal chaos formula. Instead, he had focused all of his energy on cultivating the heretical god force and pulse-cutting palm. The pulse-cutting palm was quite simple. This martial skill was only able to deal with opponents with a far inferior strength, or those who had already lost all their ability to resist an enemy. Lin Ming only took a few days to learn this skill. In short, the pulse-cutting palm infiltrated one's own true essence into an enemy's body, blowing out all of their meridian channel. Before a martial artist reached the pulse condensation period, the meridians in their body hadn't yet opened and connected. But this did not mean that they had no meridians, only that the meridians were blocked, and body points were dried, thus they showed no effects. But the pulse-cutting palm was able to forcefully pour true essence along these depleted meridians, ravaging them as they passed. Eventually, all the meridian channels would be destroyed. The meridians were the path that a person's qi flowed. If one did not have meridians for the qi to pass, then they would be called a natural non-meridian born. These non-meridian borns would usually not survive past the age of 25. The pulse-cutting palm was able to destroy the meridians and simulate the effect of a non-meridian born. It would cause a martial artist to gradually lose their cultivation, until it was finally all obliterated. Cultivating the pulse-cutting palm was simple. However, cultivating the heretical god force was a completely different level of difficulty. The heretical god force was divided into 6 layers. Lin Ming had cultivated this ability for 10 days, but still hadn't even been able to touch upon the first layer. The essence of the heretical god force is compression of true essence. The first layer compressed true essence by 50%. The second layer compressed true essence by 100%. The third layer, 150%. All the way until the 6th layer, where true essence was compressed by 3 times. If true essence was compressed, then its power would naturally be multiplied. The heretical god force could only compress a portion of one's true essence, and then store that in the body. In a battle, one could bring out this compressed true essence. What Lin Ming needed to cultivate was the seed of the heretical god force. As long as this heretical god seed existed, true essence would automatically be compressed and confined within this seed. Lin Ming would not need to consciously manage it. I'm not in a hurry to cultivate this heretical God force. This is only the end of the second month. I should participate in the 10,000 killing array assessment first, and take the heavy profound soft spear. The heavy profound soft spear was a medium-grade human step treasure. If Lin Ming poured his true essence into it, it would be able to flow through unimpeded. With his penetrating rainbow spear, only the spear head was a low-grade human step treasure. The spear shaft was made from ordinary iron. Although this iron was the dark elastic purple iron, the flow of true essence would still be greatly reduced within. For flow like silk, Lin Ming needed to pour true essence into the spear in order to display its power. So if Lin Ming was able to take the heavy profound soft spear, he would become that much more powerful. There were only 3 days left until the 10,000 killing array assessment. He would attain a top 10 spot within the ranking stone in one fell swoop, and finish the first reward task from the 7 profound martial house and obtain the heavy profound soft spear. With this spear in hand, he would be much more confident against Zhong Guanyu. 3 days later. Today marked the 4th month since Lin Ming had entered the 7 profound martial house. Lin Ming had participated in the 10,000 killing array assessment twice. The first time he had been ranked 126, and the second time he had been ranked 62. The time between these two rankings had only been 1 month. During the third 10,000 killing array assessment, Lin Ming had been wholly absorbed in preparing for his decisive showdown with Zhu Yang, so he hadn't participated. As for the fourth assessment, Lin Ming had already obtained privileges and resources equal to the top 3 ranks of the ranking stone, so he hadn't felt the need to participate. But now, this would be the 5th 10,000 killing array assessment. For this 10,000 killing array assessment, there weren't many disciples attending. In the entire Ashlar Square, since the sun had risen, there were only a handful more than 20 people. Moreover, within these disciples, most were ranked below rank 100, and there were only 6 or 7 disciples that were ranked in the top 100. As for the top 50, none of them had come. This deserted and lonely scene was mainly because the majority of the 7 profound martial house's disciples had planned to attend the next 10,000 killing array assessment. Next month's assessment was set to be highly anticipated, because that day would mark the 3rd month since the 7 profound decree was issued. Lin Ming would definitely challenge the top 10 of the ranking stone during that time in order to obtain the heavy profound soft spear. At that appointed time, there would no doubt be countless powers that had their eyes and ears on scene, and powerhouses from all around would converge. Naturally, one could not miss such a grand event. But nobody would ever think that Lin Ming would challenge the top 10 rankings of the ranking stone at only the end of the 2nd month. Since the opening of the 10,000 killing array, it had only been half an hour. The Ashlar Square was very peaceful. Most of the early arriving martial artists sat in the bamboo grove and meditated. The early morning air was rich with life and energy. It was very suitable for breathing. Moreover, controlling one's breath during meditation could assist with adjusting a martial artist's mental and bodily condition. Of course, all disciples hoped to enter the 10,000 killing array in their best state, and thus achieve the best result they could. Because there weren't many disciples attending this 10,000 killing array assessment, and those who did were mostly new disciples, the deacon's senior apprentice brother responsible for the 10,000 killing array seemed to lack interest. He strolled around with an air of boredom as he received the true essence stone from the participating disciples. Each disciple that wished to enter into the 10,000 killing array had to pay a deposit of 1 true essence stone. The deacon's name was Liang Guangfeng. He had already served as a deacon at the 7 profound martial house for a long time, and his mind was thinking about his hopeful future promotion to a human hall elder. Of the 7 profound martial house elders, there were the heavenly abode elders, the earth hall elders, and the human hall elders. The human hall elders had the lowest status of the 3. As long as they were a pulse condensation martial artist, they could hold this post. Liang Guangfeng was a pulse condensation period martial artist. Although the deacon of the 10,000 killing array was of a somewhat higher status than most other deacons, he was still only a deacon after all. A deacon would always be inferior in status to an elder. If I can get on good terms with Lin Ming, and he possibly becomes the martial house master someday, then it would just be a matter of a few words to become a human hall elder. What a pity that the number of people that wish to befriend Lin Ming are high enough that they can line up into their own army. When would it ever be my turn? Lian Guangfeng ruefully smiled, and shook his head. But at this moment, he saw a young man wearing black clothes, carrying a dark purple-colored long spear on his shoulder, come out from the bamboo grove. Liang Guangfeng's eyes widened. Millimeter? Lin Ming. Did he wish to participate in today's 10,000 killing array assessment? This was only the second month. Not only was Liang Guangfeng surprised, but many of the disciples present noted Lin Ming's arrival. Lin Ming was the current shining star of the Seven Profound Martial House. Many of the young junior apprentice brothers and junior apprentice sisters of the Human Hall were Lin Ming's adoring fans. To see Lin Ming was the same as seeing a lifelong idol. Look quickly, that's senior apprentice brother Lin. Senior apprentice brother Lin has come. Lin Ming would soon reach 16 years of age. In the Seven Profound Martial House, he was still considered relatively young. But, even those older than Lin Ming would still refer to him as senior apprentice brother Lin. Those that cultivated the martial path respected achievements first and foremost. For instance, Ling Sen would always be the elder senior apprentice brother of the heavenly abode. Does senior apprentice brother Lin want to participate in today's 10,000 killing array assessment? No way. This is only the second month. Maybe senior apprentice brother Lin wants to warm up. Che. How could someone like you predict the actions of someone at senior apprentice brother Lin's level? I think today he will try to enter into the top 10 rankings. Don't just wildly guess. Maybe senior apprentice brother Lin is just taking a walk around. As the disciples discussed this, a young 15-year-old girl timidly edged towards Lin Ming and asked, Senior apprentice Lin, may I ask if you are participating in today's 7 Profound Martial House assessment? Yes. Lin Ming nodded. Lin Ming's reply caused all these low-order Earth Hall disciples to be excited to the point of fainting. Some even took out sound-transmitting talismans and quickly relayed messages to their friends to come see this grand event. Lin Ming's participation in the 10,000 killing array assessment was an extraordinary matter. If he could smoothly enter the top 10 of the ranking stone, then would he be able to defeat Zhong Guanyu in the 4th month, and then subsequently defeat Ta Ku and Ling Sen? To the disciples of the Seven Profound Martial House, the trio of Zhong Guanyu, Ta Ku, and Ling Sen had acquired too heavy a reputation over the years. To defeat individuals like them, these disciples simply dared not imagine such a scenario. Moreover, if Lin Ming really could defeat Zhong Guanyu, then the matter of passing the 7 Profound Valleys Core Disciple Test could be considered settled. A local-born 7 Profound Martial House Core disciple of the Sky Fortune Kingdom had the possibility of becoming a 7 Profound Envoy or the Martial House Master in the future. These were simply legendary figures. Lin Ming moved towards the 10,000 killing array's altar, and took out a true essence stone as payment for entrance. Liang Guangfeng apologetically smiled. Junior apprentice brother Lin may directly test. It makes no difference whether you place down a true essence stone deposit or not. The last time Lin Ming had participated in the 10,000 killing array, he had been ranked 62. Now, after such a long time, his true strength was at least several dozen ranks above that. Even if he paid down a true essence stone, he was sure to take it back. Lin Ming was expressionless as he said, "Then thank you, senior apprentice brother Liang." The urgent news traveled quickly. After some people heard this, they immediately rushed to the 10,000 killing array. The previously lonely Ashlar Square was now lively and full of people. Even several elders had arrived. Lin Ming, haha, do you plan on challenging the top 10 positions of the ranking stone so quickly? A hearty voice called out. Lin Ming turned and saw that this person was an elder of the 7 Profound Martial House's heavenly abode, Sun Siphon. Chapter 139 Two Geniuses. Chapter 139 Two Geniuses. Chapter 139 Two Geniuses. Lin Ming turned and saw that this person was an elder of the 7 Profound Martial House's heavenly abode, Sun Siphon. Before, during the entrance examination at the start of fall, Lin Ming had managed to pass all 3 trials in first place. However, because of the limit of his talent, some elders did not agree that Lin Ming should have the first place spot. But this Sun Siphon was actually one of those who had supported Lin Ming. After that, Lin Ming had severely wounded Wang Yangfeng and Elder Shu and rushed on stage to look for trouble with Lin Ming. That time, it was also thanks to Sun Siphon helping Lin Ming that Elder Shu was forced to back down. Because of his timely help and graciousness, Lin Ming had a very good impression of Sun Siphon. He respectfully bowed and said, "Greetings, Elder Sunday." Sun Siphon quickly held Lin Ming up and said, smiling, "There is no need to be so polite between us. Soon when you become a core disciple, our statuses will be the same, millimeter." Sun Siphon paused. "You already reached the altering muscle stage?" Sun Siphon's eyes were like a torch, and he immediately saw through Lin Ming's cultivation. Before, Lin Ming had restrained his true essence within him, so the many young junior apprentice brothers and sisters, who were mostly at the second stage of body transformation, did not see that Lin Ming had already made another breakthrough. "Yes. I had a lucky breakthrough yesterday, so that's why I have the confidence today to challenge the top 10 spots of the ranking stone." "Good, good. The young are truly great. There is still more than a year left in the 7 Profound Valleys core disciple test. Since you are at the altering muscle stage, you must have easily broken through the bottleneck from the viscera training stage to the altering muscle stage. With your fast progress, it is only a matter of time until you reach the peak altering muscle stage. This test has already been decided. A 15-year-old altering muscle martial artist was simply extraordinary. Even a 5th-grade talent would be mediocre by comparison. This young disciple has confidence to pass the test, but to defeat someone like senior apprentice brother Lin, this young disciple does not truly have the confidence to win. Haha, passing the test is already a wonderful achievement. If you could also beat Ling Sen, that would be a true miracle. Ling Sen was known throughout the Sky Fortune Kingdom as being invincible within his own cultivation stage, and even undefeatable to those below the pulse condensation period. There were even some weak pulse condensation period martial artists that Ling Sen would be victorious over. If Lin Ming could defeat Ling Sen, then that would mean he would be a 15-year-old at the early altering muscle stage with strength equivalent to a pulse condensation period martial artist. In the entire Sky Fortune Kingdom, there were only a mere 100 or so pulse condensation period martial artists, and most of those were concentrated in the 7 Profound Martial House. If Lin Ming could defeat Ling Sen, then that would mean that in the Sky Fortune Kingdom, his individual strength would be in the top 100. This ranking, at such a young age, really caused one to feel alarm and horror. At this moment, another elder entered the Ashlar Square. It may have been a coincidence, but this elder turned out to be Elder Shu, the Shu Fengyuan who had made things difficult for Lin Ming. Not even in Shu Fengyuan's wildest dreams would he have thought that Lin Ming would achieve this level of fame 4 months ago. Now that he was a 7 Profound Martial House core disciple, he might even become the Martial House Master in the future. That would make him his own immediate superior. When he remembered the entrance examination and how he had tried to meddle with Lin Ming, Shu Fengyuan felt such a deep, aching regret that even his intestines turned blue. Recently, Shu Fengyuan had been having difficulty sleeping and eating. Although Shu Fengyuan loathed this to his heart, he reluctantly came today for a chance to meet with Lin Ming and come to terms with what happened. If they could bury their past animosity, perhaps this Lin Ming would not retaliate against him in the future. For the martial house to get rid of a heavenly abode elder, it wasn't a small matter, but it also wasn't too difficult. Choosing this time to come, he didn't anticipate that he would bump into his old rival, Sun Siphon. Shu Fengyuan immediately complained of this hardship in his heart. This was a time when he was already planning on losing face, but he had actually managed to run into an old rival. Would this guy not just make a joke of him? Lin Ming also remembered this elder Shu. The spatial ring that he had was from Shu Fengyuan. The spatial ring had been very convenient. Lin Ming did not even bear a grudge against Wang Yangfeng, much less Shu Fengyuan. While Shu Fengyuan had been unfair, it was still understandable. After all, it was a natural human reaction. Shu Fengyuan was old friends with Yuelu City's Wang family, and Wang Yangfeng was from the Wang family. Lin Ming greeted him with the same respect. "Greetings, Elder Shu." Shu Fengyuan awkwardly coughed. He had immediately discovered that Lin Ming had broken through to the altering muscle stage. This caused him to not know how to react to this sudden development. Wang Yangfeng was still trying to reach the peak viscera training stage, but this Lin Ming was already at the altering muscle stage. At the beginning of fall, Wang Yanfeng's cultivation had been his greatest advantage against Lin Ming. But now he had already fallen behind. The test had only started 2 months ago, and he had reached the altering muscle stage. There was also more than a year left of time. To achieve the peak altering muscle stage would simply be child's play. If there wasn't some catastrophic accident, then Lin Ming would definitely become a core disciple of the 7 profound martial house. Because Sun Siphon was present, Xu Fengyuan didn't wish to tarry. He dryly coughed and said, "I just passed by and heard that Lin Ming was going to take the assessment. I came here to take a look, and, well, good luck in the array. If you come across problems in your cultivation, feel free to come ask me anything." These remarks of Xu Fengyuan were a tactful apology on his part. Lin Ming naturally would not argue for anything more. Xu Fengyuan was still a Hutian stage master. Such a humble dialogue already showed much face to Lin Ming. Lin Ming said, "Many thanks to Elder Xu. This young disciple will come pay a visit another day." Millimeter, good. Listening to Lin Ming say this, Elder Xu was finally relaxed. With the presence of the 2 elders, the lower-order disciples of the Earth Hall stood at a distance and did not dare to go forward. But at this moment, there was another stir within the Ashlar Square. This rippling wave of awe was no less than that caused by Lin Ming. Another person had arrived in the square. This person was unexpectedly Qin Xingxuan. If there was anyone in the 7 profound martial house who could compare with Lin Ming, then that person, without a doubt, would be Qin Xingxuan. When Qin Xingxuan's fame was rising, Lin Ming was still an unknown. Now, the halo of prestige that surrounded Qin Xingxuan was no less than Lin Ming's. With these 2 monstrous geniuses of the 7 profound martial house gathering together, how could it not be thrilling? Lin Ming was also quite a bit surprised at seeing Qin Xingxuan arrive. He hadn't thought that she would come. Qin Xingxuan was a core disciple, so there was no reason for her to participate in the 10,000 killing array assessment. That meant that the only reason she came here was to see him. Thinking this, Lin Ming felt a very unusual feeling percolating in his mind. Today, Qin Xingxuan was wearing a very simple martial outfit. It was neat, loose, and tied at the waist with a band. It perfectly served to accentuate her beautiful shape, and combined with both her slender legs, it gave off a very pure and valiant feeling. However, what Lin Ming noticed was not Qin Xingxuan's beauty and temperament, but her cultivation. Qin Xingxuan had already broken into the 5th stage of body transformation, the bone forging stage. When Lin Ming had first entered the 7 profound martial house, Qin Xingxuan was already at the peak altering muscle stage. Now, in 4th months, she had crossed the bone forging bottleneck. But Qin Xingxuan was also younger than Lin Ming by several months. A 6th grade talent was simply too terrifying. Xingxuan greets Elder Xu, Elder Sunday. Although Qin Xingxuan's status was similar to these elders of the heavenly abode, she still displayed the etiquette of a child to an elder, and bowed to these 2 elders. The 2 elders also noted Qin Xingxuan's cultivation. They exclaimed with surprise in their heart. The Sky Fortune Kingdom had never before in their entire history had a martial artist reach the bone forging stage at only 15 years of age. With such progress, Qin Xingxuan had the possibility of breaking through to the pulse condensation period at 16 years of age. At present, between this boy and girl pair, one's combat capabilities were unrivaled, and the other's cultivation speed went against heaven's will. These 2 youths were simply the true monsters among monstrous geniuses. Unfortunately, Qin Xingxuan had already made it clear to all that she planned to pursue the Xiantian path, and had no intention of staying in the Sky Fortune Kingdom. Otherwise in the future, Lin Ming could be the martial house master and Qin Xingxuan could be the 7 profound envoy. They could marry as one, and they would be the definition of a golden couple, simply a match made in heaven. Their children would inevitably be gifted with an astonishing natural talent, and there would be a new legendary family within the Sky Fortune Kingdom. With these 2 people, the destiny and future of the nation would be much more stable, and the nearby enemies would not dare to invade the Sky Fortune Kingdom. Lin Ming, long time no see. Qin Xingxuan faintly smiled. Of all his peers, only Qin Xingxuan directly called Lin Ming by his name, smoothly and naturally, with a nice ring to it. Others would call him Senior Apprentice Brother Lin, maybe Sir Lin, or even Mr. Lin. Millimeter. It's been 2 months since we've seen each other. Haha, you two chat first. We shall go sit in the bamboo grove. Sun Siphon saw these two youths talking, and created an excuse to leave of his own initiative. He knew that Qin Xingxuan would certainly not ask these 2 old men to leave. Elder Sun, Elder Shu, please walk carefully. Qin Xingxuan sweetly said. Millimeter. Have fun catching up. Shu Fengyuan hurriedly said. This was one of the few times that these two were of the same opinion. After seeing these two walk away, Qin Xingxuan brightly smiled and said, Lin Ming, I've recently been in seclusion for cultivation. When I came out, I heard that your inscription technique has already reached the pinnacle of Sky Fortune City. Hehe, since I was the first one to know of your status as an inscription master, can you give me a discount? I have a sword, and I would like your help with it. Qin Xingxuan's eyes twinkled like stars as she winked. It showed a rarely seen playful demeanor that only highlighted her peerless enchanting beauty. Even Lin Ming was stunned speechless for a moment. He finally smiled and said, I am willing to serve Miss Qin. In fact, I can help you for free. Really? Then I am honored. Qin Xingxuan coyly smiled and continued, Lin Ming, please call me by my name, there is no need for us to be strangers. Ah, since you came today, you must be confident in entering the top 10 ranks of the ranking stone, right? Millimeter. Lin Ming nodded. He had a 100% assurance that he could enter the top 10 ranks today. More and more people began to stream into the 10,000 killing arrays Ashlar Square. The originally lonely scene, because of the sudden appearance of Lin Ming, had become very festive, and some people were even rushing in. As the 10,000 killing array assessment was soon to begin, Bai Jingyun and Murongzi also arrived. Seeing Lin Ming and Qin Xingxuan having such an engaged conversation, Murongzi curled her lips and plopped down. There was no way that she was going to go up and say hello. As Bai Jingyun saw Murongzi like these, she laughed silently. In truth, Murongzi was actually quite proud. But unfortunately, in the face of someone like Qin Xingxuan, she had lost all of her self-confidence and couldn't find it anywhere. Qin Xingxuan was younger than Murongzi. When Qin Xingxuan's name was shaking the entirety of Sky Fortune City, Murongzi had yet to be convinced. She wanted to compare herself to Qin Xingxuan. After a long time and much effort spent, she had discovered that the two of them were simply not on the same playing field. And now, as Murongzi saw Qin Xingxuan and Lin Ming happily chatting with each other, she felt something in her heart that was hard for a little girl to explain. It was a somewhat inexplicable, bewildering jealousy that clouded her mind. Murongzi had a very simple disposition. She was never one to hide her feelings, therefore she just sat down on the spot. Bai Jingyun smiled and said, Z, didn't you just say a few days ago that you had a medium-grade human step sword that you wished junior apprentice Brother Lin to help you with? Chapter 140 Blazing Fighting Spirit. Chapter 140 Blazing Fighting Spirit. Chapter 140 Blazing Fighting Spirit. Bai Jingyun smiled and said, Z, didn't you just say a few days ago that you had a medium-grade human step sword that you wished for junior apprentice Brother Lin to help you with? Murongzi said with a sour taste, that person Qin Xingxuan also has a sword and is looking for your junior apprentice Brother Lin's inscription symbol. A sword from the marshal's quarters is probably a high-grade human step treasure sword. With my low-class broken sword, how can I go there to just lose face? Humph. Those stubborn old men in my family are simply beggaring cheapskates. Murongzi's sour words could be smelled from several blocks away. Bai Jingyun could not help but laugh. As Murongzi had been seeing these days, there were many juniors of large and respected families that had medium-grade human step treasures with Lin Ming's flame inscription symbol added on them. She could not sit still and let this opportunity pass her, so she had used soft and hard tactics, and one way or another had managed to obtain a medium-grade human step treasure sword and some rare and precious materials from the old men in her family. She had grabbed Bai Jingyun in high spirits and ran to the Inscription Association to look for Lin Ming and have him place an inscription symbol on her weapon. But after finally arriving at the Inscription Association, they found that Lin Ming had collected all the materials he was looking for, and had shut down his shop, no longer working. This caused Murongzi to feel very melancholic and depressed. She returned to the Seven Profound Martial House, where she also found that Lin Ming had gone into seclusion to train. This caused Murongzi to feel even more unwell. Bai Jingyun did not tease Murongzi. She walked over to greet Lin Ming and Qin Xingxuan. Junior apprentice brother Lin, Miss Qin. Oh. Senior apprentice sister Jingyun. Lin Ming moved slightly, immediately smiled and replied, I hope that you are satisfied with that sword's inscription. Millimeter. It has been very worthwhile. I don't know if junior apprentice brother Lin has any free time these days, but Azi also has a sword, and would like to request junior apprentice brother Lin's help. No problem, there's no need to ask. An inscription symbol shouldn't take too long, I have more than enough time. I would still like to thank senior apprentice sister Jingyun for the star obsidian, it has helped me a lot. Junior apprentice brother Lin is too polite. Bai Jingyun smiled, and before she could say anything more, the copper clock on the altar sounded. The 10,000 killing arrays assessment had officially begun. Lin Ming's eyes shined. His fighting spirit was already blazing. After a long period of 3 months, just how far could he reach on the ranking stone? Will junior apprentice brother Lin go on stage now? Bai Jingyun asked. Millimeter. I will go on for the first round. Normally, a disciple of formidable strength could choose the final rounds to go on stage. This was so that they could have their finale in front of all. But Lin Ming didn't want this. The reason he came today was to enter the top 10 and take the reward of the heavy profound soft spear. It was not to perform. Those disciples that wish to participate in the first round, please come up. The deacon senior apprentice brother proclaimed. Lin Ming leapt into the air, as if he was a gently lithe swallow, and instantly appeared on the 10,000 killing arrays altar. Others may not have noted this seemingly weightless, light movement, but Qin Xingxuan did, along with the 2 elders, Xu Fengyuan and Sun Siphon. Qin Xingxuan instinctively felt that there was something strange with Lin Ming's movements a moment ago, but could not pinpoint exactly what it was. She could only pensively look at Lin Ming, puzzled, as she recalled the scene in her mind. Xu Fengyuan stroked his beard, and said, Mr. Sun, did you notice that there was most likely some mystery within Lin Ming's movement just now? Sun Siphon recalled Lin Ming's movement just then. His movements couldn't be said to be too fast, but they actually contained some sort of special mystery. The average person, after jumping, would gradually slow down due to the force of gravity and air resistance. Though the jump speed was fast and the distance was short, those with careful perception were able to sense that even though Lin Ming jumped onto the altar at an average speed, his body seemed to be weightless like a feather, and he had been blown by a breeze on stage. There does seem to be something out of place. This kid just went missing for several days, yet his progress has not been small. Well, look. Because Lin Ming had arrived on stage, those disciples who had planned to go on for the first round stopped themselves as if they had come to a prior arrangement, and didn't step on stage. Now, the only person on the first round of the assessment was Lin Ming. Lin Ming did not care about these people, and sat cross-legged directly on the altar. There is no time limit to this assessment. Defeating an early second stage of body transformation enemy will gain you 1 point. Defeating a peak second stage will be worth 5 points. A early third stage enemy will be worth 10 points. A peak third stage enemy will be worth 50 points. An early fourth stage enemy will be worth 100 points. A peak fourth stage enemy will be worth 500 points. An early fifth stage enemy will be worth 1,000 points. A peak fifth stage enemy will be worth 5,000 points. Death in the Dreamland will mean defeat. Junior apprentice brother Lin, if you are prepared, then we may start. Deacon Liang Guangfeng spoke the usual introduction routine. Please begin. Lin Ming nodded. Afterwards, a gently white light enveloped him in front of everyone. Lin Ming had once again entered that vast white world. At his side, there were a wide variety of weapons. Spear, spear shaft 8 feet, spearhead 8 inches. Dark purple elastic iron spear shaft, cloud vein wrought iron spear point. Total weight 820 jins. Lin Ming conceived the image of the weapon in his mind, and like that, a replica of the penetrating rainbow spear fell into his waiting hands. Meanwhile, in front of Lin Ming, more than 10 martial artists and vicious beasts appeared. Their strength only ranged from the early second stage of body transformation to the early third stage of body transformation. To the Lin Ming of now, this sort of strength carried not even the slightest bit of threat. Not waiting for these enemies to attack, Lin Ming stepped forwards and instantly appeared in the middle of this shadowy pack of vicious beasts and martial artists. He swept out his spear, killing circle. Even with no flow like silk, and just with his physical strength alone, that single sweep of his spear caused every single enemy to explode like bags of blood. Every single one died. A single move to clear all, cleanly and neatly. As several breaths of time passed, another group of enemies winked into existence. This time, the enemies were mostly at the peak third stage of body transformation, and there was even one at the early altering muscle stage. But this cultivation was just as trivial to Lin Ming. He gripped the penetrating rainbow spear and flicked it into his hand. Lin Ming fired into the group of enemies. The cow-like vicious beast with strength equal to the altering muscle stage stormed towards Lin Ming. Its large body of several thousand jins rapidly ran at him. Its 4 trampling hooves shook the ground, causes dirt and stones to fly in the air. With the fearsome power of the cow-like vicious beast, and in addition to the strength from its charge, even a palace would collapse on impact. Facing this aggressive monster, Lin Ming did not dodge or evade. He shouted, arms lowering, and his imposing aura erupted from his body like a volcano. Flood dragon goes to sea. With a roar, Lin Ming's spear pierced through that cow-like monster's body. Catcher. Under the force of this impact, the penetrating rainbow spear split apart the cow-like monster's thick skin as if it was rotten leather and then stuck straight in the middle of the cow-like beast's body. The powerful clash of the two caused the penetrating rainbow spear to curve like a crescent moon. Li Ming fiercely stepped forward with his right foot, and his feet became rooted to the ground, as if he were an immovable mountain that had become one with the earth. Ho! Lin Ming's body flooded with thick true essence. His waist bent, and his body flexed like a bow. Both of his arms suddenly rose, and that several thousand jin cow beast was sent flying over Lin Ming's head. With a single move to send that cow monster soaring in the air, Lin Ming's momentum had already reached an extreme. He gave a loud shout and crashed into the center of the pack of enemies. Wielding his spear with both hands, he emanated an epic majesty. The penetrating rainbow spear was just like a purple-black flood dragon diving in the midst of a billowing sea of pain. Where the flood dragon went, blood would spray, bones would break, and muscles would be torn apart. Every move of the spear killed at least 2 enemies. The 10,000 killing array unceasingly conjured up new phantasmal enemies. However, the old enemies died even faster. After a long period passed, there were only 7 or 8 phantom beasts and martial artists that surrounded Lin Ming. Most of these had been swept by a spear, and had their legs broken of spines shattered. They lost nearly all their combat prowess, and would soon be eliminated. Outside the 10,000 killing array, the 4th incense stick had already been lit. Lin Ming was sitting on the altar, looking as indifferent as he did when he started, apparently still not having reached anywhere near his limit. The 4th incense stick has lit. During the last 10,000 killing array assessment, when Lin Ming arrived at the 4th incense stick, he had already been weakened. Even so, the speed at which he killed the enemies inside was too fast, and he killed his way to rank 62. Now it's already the 4th incense stick and Lin Ming hasn't even been affected at all. It looks like even persisting to the 6th or 7th incense stick is not a problem. With Lin Ming's increased strength, the speed at which he's killing enemies is absolutely faster than before. He might already have killed them to the point of the array creating bone forging stage martial artist. An early bone forging stage martial artist is worth 1,000 points. I just can't even imagine what Lin Ming's ranking will be like. Bai Jingyun commented as she looked at the incense burning while estimating Lin Ming's current score. The 10,000 killing array 10th place is probably around 8 or 9,000 points. As long as he can kill 4 or 5 early bone forging stage martial artists, In addition to the points he's already accumulated, he could easily enter the top 10 rankings. To Bai Jingyun, for a 15-year-old to enter the top 10 rankings, that was an absolutely terrifying result. As Bai Jingyun spoke, Murongzi was sitting cross-legged on the grass, propping up her head with both hands under her chin. She looked at Lin Ming as he sat down on the altar, and didn't really have much of a surprised feeling. This was probably because this Lin Ming had created too many miracles lately, and Murongzi had become immune to whatever amazing things Lin Ming would do. She was just too lazy to be surprised. In the 10,000 killing array, Lin Ming was facing bone-forging stage enemies just like Bai Jingyun had predicted. However, these were not early bone-forging enemies, but peak bone-forging enemies. Bai Jingyun had vastly underestimated the speed at which Lin Ming slaughtered his enemies. Lin Ming had just entered the early altering muscle stage. Facing off against peak bone-forging enemies, there was more than a stage and half difference between their cultivations. Peak bone-forging? Lin Ming greedily licked his lips, his eyes flashing with a brilliant fighting spirit. Because of the blood that stained his lips and face, his expression was particularly ferocious. As the enemy's strength increased, the pressure that Lin Ming felt on him also increased. Lin Ming's strength had already surpassed that of a common peak bone-forging martial artist. However, in a situation where he was surrounded by a group of enemies that diverted his attention from all angles, to kill someone that was at the peak bone-forging stage was a much greater level of difficulty. Peng! Lin Ming recklessly fought with a peak bone-forging stage martial artist. This phantom martial artist actually used a rare staff as a weapon. As the staff pounded down, it had a tremendous crushing strength. Lin Ming brandished the penetrating rainbow spear, and struck the other staff. Sizzling sparks showered the air, and the spear and staff both bent from the formidable impact. At this time, the advantage of an elastic weapon was revealed. If that staff was not elastic, then with this strike, the martial artist's hand would have gone numb from the intense vibration. A peak bone-forging martial artist had astonishing strength, but Lin Ming's strength was even greater. With the support of the chaotic virtues combat meridians and combined with the power of flow like silk, Li Ming's spear shaft was like the surging tides of the infinite sea. Not only was it formidable, but it also stretched. The penetrating rainbow spear that was bent into a half-arc flexed back to its original shape. The peak bone-forging black-armored martial artist was sent flying backwards by Lin Ming. In contrast, Lin Ming had not even taken half a step back. Chapter 141 Extreme Speed. Chapter 141 Extreme Speed. Chapter 141 Extreme Speed. The penetrating rainbow spear that was bent into a half-arc flexed back to its original shape. The peak bone-forging black-armored martial artist was sent flying backwards by Lin Ming. In contrast, Lin Ming had not even taken half a step back. In normal times, Lin Ming would lunge forwards and stab out his spear with his formidable momentum. Even if his spear could not directly kill the enemy, it would still leave a serious wound. But now, if Lin Ming just wanted to rush forward, two vicious beasts equivalent to the early bone-forging stage would immediately be at his right and left, trying to bowl him over and kill him. Die! Lin Ming cried out, and the penetrating rainbow spear fiercely swept outwards. The spear point was filled with true essence as it swept out, and these two vicious beasts' heads immediately shook with their intense vibrating true essence and then exploded. The two vicious beasts' heads were like watermelons that burst apart. Poof! Poof! The two headless corpses fell to the ground, blood erupting like a gushing fountain from their bodies. Thanks to the vicious beasts delaying for time, the peak bone-forging martial artist that had been sent flying backwards by Lin Ming was able to recover his breath. He supported himself with his staff, and with the aid of the staff's elasticity, he shot forwards. Both hands grasped the staff and directly pounded down at Lin Ming. Seeing this staff come at him in the vision of his eyes, Lin Ming's mouth curved in a smile. He flicked the penetrating rainbow spear into his hands, and took a leaping step forwards. But in this single step, Lin Ming had reached a terrifying speed. Golden rock shattering the void. Under Lin Ming's footsteps, distance had already lost its meaning. When the peak bone-forging martial artist staff was descending, Lin Ming flickered in front of the bone-forging martial artist as if he had teleported, and thrusted out his spear. Puff! The long spear pierced through the peak bone-forging martial artist's throat. Even 10,000 moves could be shattered with extreme speed. When one's agility reached the pinnacle, they would have already killed their enemies before the enemy could even react. The peak bone-forging martial artist hadn't expected Lin Ming to do this. Lin Ming hadn't yet shown such a horrifying velocity, and the result was that he had died to Lin Ming's spear. The penetrating rainbow spear was like a poisonous snake that was returning to its hole in the ground, and that peak bone-forging martial artist's throat was such a big, bloody hole. As the peak bone-forging martial artist died, the other early bone-forging stage vicious beasts and martial artists were no match for Lin Ming. Under Lin Ming's alarming striking power and speed that was like flying ghosts, the penetrating rainbow spear was simply a death god's scythe as it harvested the life of these vicious beasts and martial artists. Under Lin Ming's golden rock shattering the void movement skill, even if these vicious beasts and martial artists attacked, every single one would miss. After killing several early bone-forging stage vicious beasts, Lin Ming was able to catch his breath for a brief moment. Then, 5 or 6 phantoms appeared in the dreamland. The majority of these were peak bone-forging martial artists or vicious beasts, but impressively, there was actually a silver-armored martial artist that was at the pulse condensation period. A pulse condensation period martial artist. Good, very good. Let me take a look and see just how big the disparity is between the present me and an ordinary pulse condensation period martial artist. Seeing the appearance of a pulse condensation period martial artist, Lin Ming's fighting spirit combusted like a raging inferno. He had heard rumors that the limit of Ling Sen's strength was able to compete with a weak pulse condensation period martial artist. But this silver-armored martial artist's true essence wasn't as rich. He had apparently just made a breakthrough to the pulse condensation period, and the meridians through his body hadn't yet made a complete connection. This sort of pulse condensation period martial artist was the weakest of all. If Ling Sen were here, he would most likely be able to kill him, but for Lin Ming to deal with him was just too difficult. Now, if Lin Ming wanted to, he could take the most sensible approach. He would avoid the pulse condensation period martial artist, and use his great striking power, speed, and flow like silk to continuously harvest points from the bone-forging stage vicious beasts and martial artists. This was the best way to maximize points. In fact, all the 7 profound martial house disciples were the same. If they ran into an enemy they could not deal with, they would use this method. Zhong Guanyu and Ta Ku were no exception. These 2 individuals were still unable to kill a pulse condensation period martial artist. At this time, they could only persist as long as they could under the vigilance of this pulse condensation period martial artist and try to kill as many enemies as possible. Ta Ku relied on his formidable strength. Even in a situation where several pulse condensation period martial artists appeared, he would still be able to find his way in and cleanly slay a bone-forging stage martial artist. This was why he had always been placed above Zhong Guanyu, and had taken the throne of second rank on the ranking stone. But Lin Ming had no desire to do this. He knew that with the points he had, his position in the top 10 was already ironclad. Even if he killed more bone-forging stage martial artists to rise to a higher rank, what significance would there be in that? In the past, Lin Ming had to struggle for resources by attaining a higher ranking. But now, Lin Ming was already undergoing the core disciple test, and thus enjoyed benefits no different from being in the top 3 ranks of the ranking stone. Therefore, points to him now were nothing more than clouds in the sky. As long as he entered the top 10 ranks and obtained the heavy profound soft spear, that would be enough. Constantly dodging the attacks of the pulse condensation period martial artist and killing off the weaker enemies. Like this, his score would be higher, but the number of pulse condensation period martial artists would also gradually increase. Therefore Lin Ming would completely lose the opportunity to kill the pulse condensation period martial artist. What Lin Ming wanted to know was not how many points he could accumulate, but what the disparity was between him and a normal pulse condensation martial artist. Die. Lin Ming did not go to deal with the other enemies. He grasped the penetrating rainbow spear, and flew directly at the silver-armored warrior. Outside the 10,000 killing array, the sixth incense stick had already burnt to its end. This result was as many people anticipated. 6 incense sticks of time were not too long. The last time Murongzi had participated in the 10,000 killing array assessment, she had also persisted for 6 incense sticks of time, and finally achieved rank 28. But what everyone knew was that Lin Ming's 6 incense sticks of time was much different than an average person's 6 incense sticks of time. The speed with which he killed his enemies was simply distressing. The 7th incense stick just lit. Lin Ming seems to be approaching his limit. During this time in the 10,000 killing array, Lin Ming's face became flushed red with blood and his forehead was heavily sweating. Under the diversion of the crowds of bone-forging stage martial artists, the pressure on him as he was battling the pulse condensation period martial artist could be imagined. The disparity between a pulse condensation period martial artist and a bone-forging stage martial artist was enormous, because a pulse condensation period martial artist was able to connect all of their body's meridians. The enemy Lin Ming was facing had just broken through the pulse condensation period, so the meridians hadn't thoroughly opened. But his extreme strength was truly abnormal. If it was not for the movements of golden rock shattering the void, Lin Ming would have already been surrounded by enemies as he faced the pulse condensation period martial artist, and suffered agonizing defeat. Even so, with the passage of time, the wounds on Lin Ming's body began to gradually increase. He experienced over a dozen injuries on his body, and had lost a massive amount of blood. There were several deep wounds where even bone could be seen. Even though Lin Ming was able to breathe like bellows, and breathe out a whirlpool, and also had the support of the true primal chaos formula, he had already arrived at this limit. During that time, Lin Ming had pierced that silver-armored knight with his spear. Although the spear had penetrated the armor and slightly injured the body, the intense vibrating true essence had passed into the body of the silver-armored knight. But even though Lin Ming had poured all of his true essence into that strike, he was still only able to make his enemy cough up a mouthful of blood. Flow like silk was able to kill the enemy due to the vibration of true essence. However, the true essence in a pulse condensation period martial artist was simply too thick. It diffused the vibrations to a certain extent as the shock came, and therefore Lin Ming had been unable to kill his enemy in a single strike. At this time, the 7th incense stick had burnt less than half. In the 10,000 killing array, Lin Ming let out a stuffy cough and was suddenly drawn back from the dreamland of the 10,000 killing array. The assessment has ended. Lin Ming had eventually failed to kill the pulse condensation period stage martial artist. He only just injured him with his spear. Although his strength was far inferior, with the support of the true primal chaos formula, Lin Ming had been able to last for a good while until his defeat. While under the attacks and diversions from numerous bone-forging stage martial artists and vicious beasts, Lin Ming had still been able to injure a pulse condensation period martial artist. Even though this pulse condensation period martial artist was a phantom conjured by the 10,000 killing array, this result was enough for him to take pride in. If this news spread out, it would create a stir within the entire Sky Fortune Kingdom. However, after having injured that pulse condensation period martial artist, facing the attacks from so many more bone-forging stage enemies, Lin Ming had been forced to eliminate several of the bone-forging martial artist and vicious beasts. The end result was that another pulse condensation period martial artist had appeared, and this one was even stronger than the least. Because of the increased pressure on Lin Ming, he was finally defeated. Lin Ming stepped down from the altar, and the eyes of everyone had already turned to the ranking stone. They wanted to personally see with their eyes just how high Lin Ming would be arranged. Lin Ming had numerous fanboys and fangirls. For instance, the many young junior apprentice brother and sister Lin maniacs of the Human Hall who fanatically supported and worshipped Lin Ming. They believed that the omnipotent Lin Ming could accomplish anything. But older, sensible disciples who saw reason, they assumed that the reason Lin Ming came today was to warm up and see how far he was from reaching the top 10 rankings. The 7 profound martial housemaster had given Lin Ming 3 months to reach the top 10 rankings. This definitely was not some random date that he had set. What kind of person was the 7 profound martial housemaster? He must have seen Lin Ming's potential and estimated the speed of his progress, thus he listed out the series of awards. 3 months to reach the top 10, That should be Lin Ming's limit. Otherwise, if Lin Ming was lax even just a tad, it would be impossible for him to reach the top 10 in 3 months. This Lin Ming wants to amaze the world with a single, brilliant feat. Since he dared come today, he must not be too far from the top 10. Even if he cannot enter this month, he should be able to next month. A heavenly abode disciple ranked 20th commented as he swung his fan. The more points one had, the slower the calculation on the ranking stone would be. Now, several breaths of time had passed, and yet there was not any stir on the ranking stone. Lin Ming should be close to the top 10 millimeter. The Martial Housemaster's judgment shouldn't be wrong. The fact that he gave Lin Ming 3 months to advance to the top 10 was not some random guess. He must have already seen through Lin Ming's potential, and didn't want to leave anything to accident. Lin Ming should be able to advance to the top 10 next month. If so, he might even possibly defeat Zhong Guanyu in the 4th month's match. To defeat Zhong Guanyu in 4 months, that is simply too fearful. If junior apprentice brother Lin surpasses us this time, I just don't know how I will respond. The young man who answered was a heavenly abode disciple who was ranked in the top 20. These two friends would soon graduate. They had been fellow disciples for 5 years, and had entered the Earth Hall together, and then entered the heavenly abode together. They were very good lifelong friends. These two people had just passed by, and after learning that Lin Ming was participating in the assessment, came especially to see. In their view, for Lin Ming to advance to the top 10 in 3 months was already an inconceivable myth, something only heard about in children's bedtime stories. And now, if he managed to reach the top 10 in 2 months, they really wouldn't be able to find the words to describe such a fantastical situation. Any talent, genius, monster, evildor, or other adjective would simply not be enough to describe Lin Ming. Their eyes were focused on the 2nd row of the ranking stone, as they waited for the illusory magic array to calculate the points. The 2nd row was the location where the disciples in the 10s were located. After several more breaths of time, there was finally that trademark rippling distortion on the ranking stone. However, this fluctuation actually appeared on the 1st row. The 5th and 6th names were shoved apart by some unseen strength, and Lin Ming's name impressively appeared between them. Lin Ming, rank 6. Chapter 142, Heavy Profound Soft Spear. Chapter 142, Heavy Profound Soft Spear. 6. The 2 top 20 heavenly abode disciples said at the same time, surprised. The Martial Housemaster had given Lin Ming 3 months to enter into the top 10 rankings. But in only 2 months, he had reached 6th place. Was this a joke? Even the two of them, though they were big fans of Lin Ming, didn't think that Lin Ming would reach the top 10. But then to also kill his way to the 6th rank spot. Even the fanatical young female apprentice of the human hall rubbed her eyes, as if there was something wrong with her sight. The threshold of difficulty for which the 7 profound martial house had set the tasks before Lin Ming would receive a reward was difficult beyond imagination. 3 months to enter the top 10, 4 months to defeat Zhong Guanyu, 5 months to defeat Ta Ku, 6 months to defeat Ling Sen. There were even those who believed that this list of rewards was merely someone poking fun at Lin Ming. But the present result was that when it came to Lin Ming, the difficulty that the 7 profound martial house had set the rewards at was too low to have Lin Ming advance to the top 10 in 3 months. They were simply looking down on Lin Ming. Now Lin Ming had only taken 2 months to arrive at the 6th place rank. Wasn't this just embarrassing oneself? Now, it was extremely possible for Lin Ming to defeat Zhong Guanyu. The only requirement for Lin Ming to be a core disciple of the 7 profound martial house was that he reach the peak-altering muscle stage before he was over 16 years old. Everyone was no longer anxious of this test. This difficulty was simply too low for Lin Ming. That is, whether or not Lin Ming could defeat Ta Ku or Ling Sen in the future, he was already destined to be a core disciple of the 7 profound martial house and reach the pulse condensation period. He would go to 7 Profound Valley's main sect for several years, and easily reach the Hutian stage. Then as long as Lin Ming wished for it, he could return to the Sky Fortune Kingdom and become a 7 Profound Envoy or the 7 Profound Martial House Master. At that time, the Sky Fortune Kingdom would become Lin Ming's garden, and he could do as he pleased. This made how many people, how many families jealous to the degree of bleeding. Lin Ming was also so young, he completely had the possibility to step into the Hutian stage before he was 30 years old. Then, he could casually and freely spend his couple hundred years of youth as countless families and major powers tried to flatter and curry favor with him. Innumerable beautiful young girls would want to marry him, even royal princesses, and proud, arrogant women like Bai Jingyun and Murongzi would be at his beck and call. Not only was it the beautiful women of now, but those several dozens of years later, or 100 years later would all be easily obtained. Compared to this, it was even better than being a mortal emperor by hundreds of times. To the majority of the 7 profound martial house's male disciples, this was simply the pinnacle of living, the pinnacle of life. Lin Ming looked at the ranking stone and understood why he was able to achieve such a result. The first reason was that he had broken through to the altering muscle stage, so his true essence and strength had increased by a large margin. The second reason was that he had comprehended the concept of wind, and had successfully learned the movement ability, Golden Rock shattering the void. In the past, Lin Ming had rarely moved in battle. No matter how aggressive his enemy was or how threatening their killer moves, Lin Ming never escaped. His fighting method was to completely meet an enemy head-on in a battle of toughness. If he is strong, then I am stronger. In a battle, Lin Ming's aura was motionless like a mountain that had existed since time immemorial, as if he was that passing cable in a torrentially surging river. After Lin Ming had reached the large success stage in his cultivation method, so far the only one who had been able to force him back was Zhu Yang. The reason for this method of fighting was mainly because of how formidable Lin Ming's strength was, and how vigorous his true essence was. What he excelled most at was meeting an enemy head-on, of course, but the other reason was because Lin Ming's speed was just not that fast. His attack speed was fast enough, but his body speed actually relied upon the foundation movement technique. The foundation movement technique was only the most basic of movement manuals after all. Lin Ming just hadn't placed much time or effort into cultivating this foundation movement technique, thus Lin Ming's accomplishments in terms of agility had remained limited. If he only rushed forwards, then by relying on his physical strength and vigorous true essence, Lin Ming could reach a certain speed. But if he were to move at strange angles, drifting about in erratic movements, then he did not excel in this aspect. But the Golden Rock shattering the void was able to completely make up for this insufficiency. Now that he had comprehended the concept of wind, regardless of whether it was linear velocity or how nimble his movements could be, Lin Ming was already far superior to martial artists at the same cultivation. He could even soar to a stop in the air, and then change direction. These movements completely violated the laws of physics in air. As he had amazing physical strength, and the true essence in his body was astonishingly thick and pure. Meanwhile, he was a martial artist who had the terrifying ability of flow like silk, and the ghostly speed from Golden Rock shattering the void. What sort of concept was this? Words were not enough to describe how powerful he was with all these skills together. With my strength as it is now, I don't know how much worse I am than Zhong Guanyu. If I am weaker, just how much weaker am I? I heard that from the 4th rank on, there was extreme disparity between the 4th rank and Zhong Guanyu's 3rd. The 4th rank and 3rd rank on the ranking stone were not even close to the same level. This time, Lin Ming had not been trying to maximize his score. Otherwise, with his Golden Rock shattering the void movements, he would have easily been able to flit around and kill enemies at the bone forging stage, and greatly increase his score. He could have reached the 4th place ranking, and even had the possibility of reaching 3rd. However, rankings did not mean everything. Even if Lin Ming's rank surpassed Zhong Guanyu, it would not mean anything. It had already been a very long time since Zhong Guanyu last participated in the 10,000 killing array assessment. According to the Crown Prince's information, Zhong Guanyu currently cultivated the divine acacia power, and his strength had experienced a tremendous rise. Right now I am inferior to Zhong Guanyu. I don't know how much time it will take to surpass him. The 7 profound martial housemaster gave me 4 months to challenge Zhong Guanyu, but I think I will be able to in 3. Lin Ming didn't consider defeating Zhong Guanyu to be an insurmountable problem. Lin Ming, Congratulations. Qin Xingxuan said with a smile. She had been standing not too far off from the altar, and watching the changes in the ranking stone. Not only in the top 10, but also the 6th place ranking. Really not something I expected. Bai Jingyun said as she also walked over, blinking as she steadily gazed at Lin Ming. She hadn't thought that Lin Ming's growth would be so drastic in such a short time. However, Murongzi's state of mind was much better. She distantly glanced at the ranking stone, and then looked at Lin Ming as he casually talked to Qin Xingxuan and Bai Jingyun in a friendly manner. She muttered in a low voice, "Farm animals are farm animals, it's impossible to judge a person just by looking at them." The second round of the 10,000 killing array carried on as usual. However, no one was actually paying attention to this. If not for some disciples that had already put down a true essence stone as down payment, they wouldn't even have wanted to undergo the assessment. As the second round of the assessment began, an old man wearing a long blue gown walked into the 10,000 killing array's Ashlar Square. The old man appeared silently, many people hadn't even noticed that he was there. It was as if he had always been standing there, and no one had ever noticed him. Lin Ming suddenly started. This was the first time that he had seen this blue-gowned old man. This person had appeared out of nowhere like a ghost. Lin Ming unconsciously took a step back. On this old man, Lin Ming realized that his breath was even stronger than Mui's. "Greetings, senior." Although he didn't know who this old man was, but to appear in the Seven Profound Martial House at this time, he should be one of the top elders of the Seven Profound Martial House. It was even possible that he was the Seven Profound Martial House Master. Qin Xingxuan discovered this old man at nearly the same time that Lin Ming did. Seeing this old man, she was slightly surprised, immediately bowing, "Greetings, Martial House Master." The man laughed and stroked his beard, saying, "Young child Xingxuan, your words are sweet enough. What Martial House Master am I? I am just a deputy." The Seven Profound Martial House had a Martial House Master and 2 deputy Martial House Masters. However, Qin Xingxuan was always awkward greeting the deputy Martial House Masters, so she ended up greeting them as Martial House Master. Lin Ming's heart was slightly cold. It turned out that this old man was the Seven Profound Martial House's deputy master, yet he had managed to acquire peak Hutian stage strength. If the deputy house master had such power, then the martial house master was certainly stronger. However, no matter how strong they were, it would be impossible for them to be a Xiantian stage master. The martial house master should also be at the peak Hutian stage. Within those at the peak Hutian stage, there were also those that were weaker and those that were stronger. As Qin Xingxuan greeted this old man, the disciples present also heard. They hadn't thought that this old man that suddenly came out of nowhere would be the Seven Profound Martial House Deputy Master. Suddenly, these disciples felt a cascade of emotions at once. They were panicked, flustered, excited, awed, and scared, all at the same time. This was just like when a commoner suddenly saw the arrival of the emperor. They would fear they did not know what the proper etiquette was, but also feel excited and honored to be in his presence. After all, to the common person, the emperor was a legendary character. To these low-order disciples, the martial house master and the deputy martial house master were elusive and secretive in their movements. One would feel their presence, but not see them. There were many heavenly abode disciples, who in their entire 5 years at the Seven Profound Martial House, would never catch even a glimpse of the martial house master. The deputy house master personally came. "That's the deputy house master of the martial house. He really is a true master. I never even noticed that he appeared." Why would the deputy house master come here? Would it be to congratulate Lin Ming? I doubt it. But if it's true, this Lin Ming's face is just too great this time. Even if a new emperor ascended the throne, it would be very difficult to ask the martial house master to attend the crowning ceremony. As people were speculating in confusion, at this moment, the old man in blue clothes withdrew an overly long box from his spatial ring. Set upright, this box was even higher than the old man. It was almost 10 feet high. The box was made from sandalwood. It appeared to be extremely aged, and faintly exuded the scent of rustic wood. As Lin Ming saw this long box, he had a faint guess in his heart. Sure enough, when the old man opened the box, Revealed inside was a long silk cloth. Between the silk, there was a faint shine of something silver. Without a doubt, this was a spear that was wrapped in the silk. Heavy, profound, soft spear. The old man in blue clothes smiled and said, "Boy, take this spear and have a look." Lin Ming took a deep breath, pulled off the silk cloth covering, and took the heavy, profound, soft spear in his hand. As his hand touched the spear shaft, Lin Ming felt an immediate rush of coolness, as if this spear was linking with his flesh and blood. It had an extremely heavy feeling, the weight had to be above 1,000 jins. The spear was bright silver all around. Even the spearhead was also shiningly silver. The spear's blade was thin, cold, and strikingly sharp. The spear shaft was elastic, but to shake it actually required a greater amount of strength than what the penetrating rainbow spear required. It was clear that the implicit tension and striking force of the heavy, profound, soft spear was much higher than dark purple elastic iron. Feeling this faintly cool trace of the spear shaft, Lin Ming clearly felt slightly ridged trace lines on the spear shaft. They were just like ripples of water and felt pleasant to the touch. These kinds of trace marks were not for preventing one's grip from slipping. Rather, they were from a refiner master who inscribed it upon the barrel of the shaft. These lines had already penetrated into the spear shaft and were similar to an inscription symbol. They had long merged into one organic whole with the spear. Relying on these lines, it enabled one to pour their true essence into the spear and circulate it throughout, finally transforming it into a medium-grade human step treasure. Chapter 143 True Essence Manifestation. Chapter 143 True Essence Manifestation. Chapter 143 True Essence Manifestation. There's no inscription symbol, Lin Ming thought. He himself was the current most splendid inscription Grand Master in the Sky Fortune Kingdom. He would have to ponder over what sort of inscription symbol to add to this heavy, profound, soft spear, to seek the highest possible promotion of might. By now, the blue-clothed old man said, before the martial house master departed, he gave me this spear and told me that as long as you pass the test, this spear would be given to you. This spear was created by the 7 Profound Valleys refiner faction. If it were not because of the inherent limitations of such weapons, it would be at least a high-grade human step treasure. Weapons like the spear, staff, and bow all demanded both tenacity and elasticity. They were the most difficult of treasures to create. Although this heavy, profound, soft spear was only a medium-grade human step treasure, in terms of value, it was much more precious and valuable than a common high-grade human step treasure sword. As Lin Ming held onto the heavy, profound, soft spear, he loved it enough that he was almost unable to put it down. The blue-clothed old man said, "This heavy, profound, soft spear weighs 1,200 jins. The spear shaft is 9 feet long and made from heavy, profound, soft silver, while the spearhead is 9 inches and made from cold star steel. The total length of this spear is 9 feet 9 inches. In the Sky Fortune Kingdom, the shape of a spear and lance were similar. The general belief was that a spear was less than 10 feet, and a lance was longer than 10 feet. The spear was a weapon usually used in battles by martial artists, but the lance was almost exclusively used by someone riding on a war horse. Because the lance was too long, it was difficult to display its strength without riding on the back of a horse. In the Sky Fortune Kingdom, the army provided standard war horses and lances to those in its ranks. The pole of a lance was 10 feet, and the lance point 8 inches, therefore it was known as a 10-foot 8 lance. The lance was once famously used by a tough and valiant general. He had favored the lance, and his strikes would cause the enemies to bleed as if his weapon was a serpent, thus it became known as the 10-foot 8 snake lance. In the Sky Fortune Kingdom, an average man was 7 feet, and they would have sons that were 7 feet. Of course, there were those that were taller, and might even be 8 feet high or taller. An 8-foot spear was already the height of a tall martial artist. A 9-foot 9-inch spear was higher than a martial artist by 2 feet. Using such a long spear, the range of attack would be larger, but the difficulty would also be higher. Among all the numerals, 9 is the highest. This symbol had been noble and honored since ancient times. A mortal emperor could only be referred to as the Royal 9-5, but the martial gods of old were actually called the Supreme 9-9. The spear was the king of 100 soldiers, and a 9-foot 9-inch spear was the supreme 99 among all other spears. This spear was truly a king among kings. A normal refining master with only a modicum of ability would never dare to rashly refine a 9-foot 99 long spear. They would fear their ability was insufficient, and ruin their own destiny. Even if there were refining masters that were confident in their own refining technique, when creating the spear, they had to quench the flames of its creation with water added with 5th-level ominous beast blood. Only with this sacrifice to the spear would the malignant influences of the spear vanish. With the 7 profound valleys' deep resources and history, they certainly would have used 5th-level vicious beast blood to quench and temper the spear. Not only that, but they would not have used a small amount. In the Sky Fortune Kingdom, 1 tael of this blood was worth more than 30,000 gold taels, and was difficulty to buy. When Lin Ming had been planning to draw his body inscription, he had spent a tremendous amount of effort in order to collect 2 taels of this blood. "Thank you, Deputy Marshal Housemaster," Lin Ming reverently said as he took the heavy profound soft spear in both his hands and deeply bowed. This spear was simply too precious, and it was also very important to him. Seeing Lin Ming receive the heavy profound soft spear, the other disciples of the martial house had very keen and eager expressions. Although they did not use a spear, if a martial artist saw a good weapon, they would still be envious. "Show off a few moves. This old man wants to take a look at your spear technique." The blue-clothed old man wet his lips and chuckled. "Yes." Lin Ming held the spear in both hands and bowed. He took a step back, and pressed the spear flat against his arm and pointed it outwards. The 1200 Jin heavy profound soft spear was held perfectly level by Lin Ming. With Lin Ming's increased strength, this 1200 Jin heavy profound soft spear was just right. As he felt the weight of the spear, Lin Ming gave the shaft a fierce shake. The heavy profound soft spear danced like a silver snake in his hands, and the originally sharp point of the spear head vibrated until it looked like a large illusory pearl. There was a powerful force contained within the heavy profound soft spear that was very lethal. If an average person touched this vibrating spear head, they would be sent flying backwards by the vigorous tremors. If this spear point touched certain points like the chest or belly, the ribs would fracture, and there was an extreme possibility that the internal organs would all burst and that person would die a miserable death. "Good spear." Lin Ming sincerely praised the spear, and his left hand pat down on the breech of the shaft. He forcefully held down the vibrating long spear and then took a step back. An imposing momentum erupted around him, and the heavy profound soft spear thrust out like a bolt of silver lightning. Flood Dragon goes to sea. CHA. The piercing sound in the air was just as if a sharp knife was running across a glass pane. Rippling waves visible to the naked eye congealed in the air, as if light itself was twisting. This was because the vibrating true essence that was poured into the spear had no place to vent, so it rushed into the air, causing vibrating sound waves that rapidly spread out. Boom! A thunderclap sounded in the air, and a stone pillar 100 feet far from Lin Ming suddenly exploded, stone rubble flying everywhere as the column collapsed into dust and rocks. But Lin Ming's spear point was 90 feet away from that stone column. The blue-clothed old man's eyes brightened. What a good young fellow. That was true essence manifestation. True essence manifestation was an ability within the realm of pulse condensation period martial artist. Martial artists were able to release magnificent and awe-inspiring martial skills, but this was not true essence manifestation. True essence manifestation referred to when a martial artist casually attacked, and was able to realize true essence and condense it into reality. Like so, every free strike they made would be comparable to a martial skill from an ordinary martial artist. The requirement for this was that a martial artist's true essence must be incomparably thick. Usually, only a pulse condensation period martial artist could achieve true essence that dense. But the current Lin Ming had only just entered the early altering muscle stage. How could that blue-clothed old man not be startled? It was not only the blue-clothed old man, but also the 2 elders, Elder Sun and Elder Shu, Qin Xingxuan, and some other master talents present that had noticed Lin Ming's true essence manifestation. To Qin Xingxuan, this ability of Lin Ming's to manifest true essence was much more surprising than him obtained the 6th place rank on the ranking stone. Qin Xingxuan found it hard to imagine that an early altering muscle stage martial artist could reach the boundary where he could manifest true essence. She was already at the bone forging stage, yet she did not yet have that ability. What the hell is Lin Ming cultivating? Is this ethereal martial intent really that godly? The other disciples had not been able to see the mysterious principles within Lin Ming's spear strike, but this did not hinder them from exclaiming in surprise at the spear's excessive vigor. Spear wind, that was definitely spear wind. No, that was certainly the legendary spear light. What do you know? That was what ancients called spear fu. The lower order disciples didn't know much about the theories of spear wind, spear light, sword wind, sword light, and were somewhat vague on the other speculations. They only knew that Lin Ming's strike was truly fierce. With a single thrust of Lin Ming's spear, he had been able to shatter a stone column. Though this was an unintentional move, he was still incomparably excited. After Lin Ming had broken through to the altering muscle stage, he had reached the boundary of true essence manifestation. But he hadn't been able to use this to fight his enemies. However, now with the medium-grade human step treasure, for the first time Lin Ming was able to release his true essence. Even without touching, he could still attack his enemy. Relying on true essence to create a ranged attack was not difficult. Normally, a martial artist could do this once they cultivated a martial skill. Lin Ming hadn't yet studied any martial skills, but now, as long as his true essence reserves were enough, he could actually strike out with a force tantamount to a martial skill. Lin Ming wasn't satisfied with just a single spear move. When his true essence poured into the heavy, profound, soft spear, it had the feeling of a fish swimming in water, and let Lin Ming feel incomparably comfortable. At this time, the aura around Lin Ming's body bloomed once again. He received his spear, gripped it in his right hand and fiercely thrust out 12 times. He turned and stabbed, flowers in the storm. Flowers in the storm was another move within the foundation spear technique. The strikes of the spear were like a hail of petals, without a single opening, where not even water could enter. The spear shadow became blurry, and a keening whistle was produced from the terrifying speed of the spear. In the surroundings of the spear shadow, there were ripples once again visible to the naked eye. Anything that this high-speed vibrating shockwave touched was torn into shred. Lin Ming stabbed out hundreds of times, and finally vented the powerful momentum that he had gathered a moment ago. As he took back the silver spear, Lin Ming's mind was filled with a great happiness. The strength of this medium-grade human step treasure was truly outstanding. If he added an inscription symbol on top of that, the might of the spear would increase by nearly 50%. Lin Ming already couldn't wait to battle Zhong Guanyu. The news of Lin Ming reaching the 6th place in the 10,000 killing array was like a massive bomb that exploded throughout Sky Fortune City. In merely one day, it had spread to every nook and cranny of the land. 3 months to enter the top 10 ranks of the ranking stone, 4 months to defeat Zhong Guanyu, 5 months to defeat Ta Ku, and 6 months to defeat Ling Sen. To everyone, this series of tests was as difficult as ascending to heaven. But now, Lin Ming had only used 2 months to complete the first task. Not only that, but he had eclipsed it, ranking stone, 6th place. Did this mean that after 4 months he could defeat Zhong Guanyu, and then defeat Ta Ku in the 5th month? And 6 months later, subsequently challenge Ling Sen? Zhong Guanyu and Ta Ku did not count for much, but Ling Sen had already been recognized throughout Sky Fortune Kingdom as being invincible within his stage. It could even be said that he was the top martial artist of those below the pulse condensation period. He was only a half step into the bone forging stage, and yet he had strength that was comparable to pulse condensation period martial artists. If Lin Ming defeated Ling Sen, then he would have shattered Ling Sen's legend of being invincible within his stage, and his individual strength would be comparable to a pulse condensation period martial artist. For someone with cultivation at the altering muscle stage to have the strength of a pulse condensation period martial artist, it was terrifying. Not only that, but Lin Ming was so young, and his cultivation speed was completely abnormal. How many years would he need to break into the bone forging stage, or the pulse condensation period? When Lin Ming reached the pulse condensation period, could he defeat a Hutian master, and seize the throne of being the top martial artist within the Sky Fortune Kingdom? Like this, could Lin Ming reach the Hutian stage, or even the peak Hutian stage. With Lin Ming's cultivation speed, to reach the Hutian stage before he was 30 would not be difficult. If he were to reach the peak Hutian stage, would he be able to compare to a Xiantian master? Thinking of this, many people did not dare to presume any further. To them, a Xiantian master was simply a fable that existed only in legends. Even in the 7 profound valleys where masters and powerhouses lurked everywhere, a Xiantian stage master had a pivotal status. Regardless of if they were a 7 profound envoy or a martial housemaster, they would only be at the peak Hutian stage. Although their status was higher than the emperor of Sky Fortune Kingdom, they still had to give some respect to the emperor. When they were issuing a decree, they also had to mind their tone. But a Xiantian master was different. They were able to directly discard the emperor, and even set up a new emperor in place of the old. If one did not obey their orders, they would kill their way into the royal palace at night, and take the emperor's severed head. Who would dare to stop a Xiantian master? Even if everyone knew perfectly well who it was that killed the emperor, who would have the ability to investigate? Chapter 144 Ouyang de Hua. Chapter 144 Ouyang de Hua. Chapter 144 Ouyang de Hua. To put it in layman's terms, a Xiantian master was an existence that completely upset the natural balance. If a country had a Xiantian master, then the neighboring countries would have no courage to go to against this country. If it really came down to war, then on the very first day the generals of all the armies would die silently in their camps, and on the second day the emperor would also die in his royal palace. How could they continue fighting at this point? If Lin Ming someday had strength that could compare to a Xiantian master, then he would essentially dominate all of Sky Fortune Kingdom, everything would be under his control. As the news that Lin Ming obtained 6th place on the ranking stone continued to spread, the Crown Prince was one of the first to hear of Lin Ming's situation via a sound-transmitting talisman. The Crown Prince was pleasantly surprised by Lin Ming's results. He thought again, with Lin Ming as he was now, it was becoming more and more likely that he could defeat Zhong Guanyu in the 4th month. With Zhong Guanyu's personality, how would he reconcile with this truth? The 7 profound martial house was similar to a beast cage. All talents were gathered, just like those trainers that would find those beasts with good bodies and trap them in a cage, feed them good meat and water, and finally let them slaughter each other to select the final king of beasts. Now, the martial housemaster had given Lin Ming 4 months to defeat Zhong Guanyu as a target goal. This was equal to turning Zhong Guanyu into Lin Ming's grindstone. If Zhong Guanyu was indifferent, or was some particularly tenacious warrior who would become braver when pressured, and could accept their defeat, then even at the worst it would not be a major problem. But Zhong Guanyu's personality was demented and paranoid. He would not easily accept his defeat, and the ripples from that fight would be especially alarming. What dark methods would Zhong Guanyu adopt? Yang Lin frowned as he thought this. Lan Yunyu was in his mansion, so he was able to guarantee her safety, and Lin Ming's parents in Mulberry City were under layer upon layer of heavy protection, so there shouldn't be a problem there either. As for Lin Ming, Zhong Guanyu would not dare move against him. So what could Zhong Guanyu do? Now, at the Allied Trade Association. Zhong Guanyu had a very gloomy expression as he reclined against a couch. At this side were 2 beautifully dressed maids standing beside him in fear and trepidation. When Lin Ming had gone to the 10,000 killing array for the assessment, Zhong Guanyu was one of the first to receive the news. He could easily have rushed over to see Lin Ming's assessment, but he was not even a cent interested in seeing Lin Ming show off in front of everyone. When Lin Ming had finished the assessment, Zhong Guanyu was also one of the first to receive a sound-transmitting talisman with the results. Only 2 months, and he had reached the 6th rank of the 10,000 killing array. This result caused Zhong Guanyu to feel uneasy. Although the first 3 ranks on the ranking stone were far away enough from the 4th that they couldn't even be considered in the same category, and Zhong Guanyu's strength had also progressed considerably recently, the speed at which Lin Ming was progressing was simply too horrifying. If another 2 months passed, would even the heavens know how much he progressed? Now Zhong Guanyu had the feeling of having ridden the back of dangerous tiger, he could no longer back down. "Young master, are you looking for me?" Zhong Guanyu turned to see a middle-aged man at the Viscera training stage walk into the room. The middle-aged man bowed. He had also heard the news about Lin Ming reaching the 6th rank. Concerning this result, he could only sigh. 2 months ago he had disapproved when Zhong Guanyu had gone to provoke Lin Ming, but it was not his place to order Zhong Guanyu on how to handle his affairs. Now that he had already offended Lin Ming, it was too late to turn back the hand of time, but also with Zhong Guanyu's character, he definitely would not rescind his hand. If the young master continues along this path and doesn't change his nature, then I am afraid there will be future trouble concerning young master's status as the successor of the Allied Trade Association. It will not be good fortune for the young master. The elder will not choose a man with an extreme character to stand at the helm of the trade association. The middle-aged man silently shook his head. He dared not speak this thought out loud. Zhong Guanyu sat as he was, looking increasingly dreary and not saying a single word. Zhong Guanyu of course understood what type of person was suitable to be the future heir of the Allied Trade Association, but after having cultivated the divine acacia power, Zhong Guanyu no longer cared for this vaunted position. What he pursued was eternal youth and infinite yang essence. The status as chief of the Allied Trade Association was simply riddled with mundane problems, and would affect his cultivation. After a period of silence, Zhong Guanyu finally said, "Help me contact the Cloud Prince and the 7 profound valleys Ouyang Dihua. I must see them." The Cloud Prince and Ouyang Dihua? The middle-aged man was surprised. He understood that Zhong Guanyu was seeking a helping hand, and that the Cloud Prince was undoubtedly Lin Ming's enemy and that an enemy of an enemy was a friend. But since ancient times, when it involved the struggle for the throne, the Allied Trade Association had always maintained their complete and utter neutrality. They would not favor any party. But this time, Zhong Guanyu actually wanted to reverse this tradition and take the side of the 10th prince. As for Ouyang Dihua, this person was the direct disciple of the 7 profound valleys acacia faction's 3rd elder, Ouyang Boyon. In fact, Ouyang Dihua's talent wasn't regarded as outstanding among the disciples of the 7 profound valleys. He had entered the pulse condensation period at the age of 22, and had now been there for 2 years, but still had not been able to reach the peak pulse condensation period. The reason he could be a direct disciple was mainly because he was the nephew of the 3rd elder, Ouyang Boyon. Because of his identity, let alone the emperors of various countries, even the 7 profound envoys and martial housemasters had to greet Ouyang Dihua with several points of respect. These years, Ouyang Dihua had been cultivating the divine acacia power. Because of this, he had left the 7 profound valleys and gone to experience the neighboring countries. The truth was this experience was in fact seeking the beautiful women in these countries. Ouyang Dihua had a wide and experienced palate, however, what he was most interested in were 2 kinds. The first kind was the young daughters of large, respected families. These girls had an outstanding temperament and a great inner pride. What Ouyang Dihua liked the most was to rip of the clothes of these women and turn these originally pure and holy girls into the basest of sluts. The second kind was the daughters of wealthy families. These girls were pure and lovely, and were like a breath of fresh air. Ouyang Dihua very much enjoyed the vaguely virgin sweet fragrance of their bodies. The Allied Trade Association where Zhong Guanyu was at had many old dealings with the 3rd elder Ouyang Boyon of the 7 profound valleys acacia faction. The reason that Zhong Guanyu was able to cultivate the divine acacia power was because he had obtained it from Ouyang Boyon. Of course, the Allied Trade Association had paid a steep price for this. 5 days later, 30,000 miles from the Sky Fortune Kingdom, at the Heavenly Wind Nation's capital's palace, Zhong Guanyu stood in a hall, hands relaxed, without single ounce of arrogance on his face. In front of him was a 20-something-year-old man lazily reclining on a bed, holding a jade-like beauty in his arm. Wrapped in blankets, the man occasionally moved, and parts of the blanket would uncover, revealing an indecent scene. Obviously, the woman was stripped naked under the blankets. Zhong Guanyu, be honest, for what matter did you come here today to ask for help? This man was Ouyang Dihua. He had lived these past few days in the Heavenly Wind Nation, enjoying the beautiful women while also attempting to break through to the perfect stage of the divine acacia power's 3rd layer. Zhong Guanyu found that Ouyang de Hua was staying at the Heavenly Wind Nation, so he borrowed the Allied Trade Association's Heavenly Wind Eagle and spent the last 5 days crossing the 30,000-mile distance to personally visit Ouyang de Hua. Zhong Guanyu withdrew a painting scroll from his spatial ring and respectfully handed it to the man, who opened it and looked at it. It was a drawing of a beautiful woman, aged around 15 or 16. She had an extremely fresh appearance, and rarest of all, her body exhibited a very faint, pure and noble mixed temperament, making one wish to immediately make her their own. The girl on this painting was Lan Yunyu. Good. Ouyang de Hua's eyes lit up. What he liked most were the princess types and the pure daughter types of wealthy families, but the woman in this painting seemed to have the makings of both at the same time. Where is she? Ouyang de Hua cut straight to the chase. Zhong Guanyu hesitated slightly, and then truthfully said, in the Sky Fortune Kingdom's Crown Prince's palace. Ouyang de Hua was momentarily stunned, and then he immediately laughed and said, Zhong Guanyu, has the Crown Prince of Sky Fortune Kingdom offended you? This girl is the Crown Prince's concubine? You want to borrow my hand to defeat the Crown Prince? Although I do not fear some little Crown Prince, do not think that I am someone who will unknowingly act as a proxy weapon for your own interests. And if this girl has already been received by the Crown Prince as a concubine, then I do not have much interest. Zhong Guanyu said, young sir has misunderstood. This girl's virginity is absolutely intact. Moreover, this girl was born on a yin year and yin month. Before this, I already sent my men to look for 12 pure yin girls to help young Sir Ouyang break through to the 4th layer of the divine Acacia power. This girl is a superior 3rd-grade talent. She will happen to make an excellent primer of the 12 pure yin girls. Now there has already been a small harvest of the 12 pure yin girls that I am looking for. Oh! Ouyang de Hua grew interested. 12 pure yin girls. Heh, you are quite determined. The way Sky Spill Continent calculated dates was by the union of celestial stems and earthly branches. There were 10 heavenly stems and 12 earthly branches. The odd were yang, and the even were yin, both respectively occupying 1/2. Therefore, there were many yin year yin month girls that were born. Lan Yunyu happened to be one of them. However, it was actually quite difficult to collect 12 pure yin girls. The first girl, or the primer, had to be the best looking. However, the following girls all followed the lead of the first girl's horoscope, and required the calculation of their birth horoscope. The result was it became increasingly difficult to find them. Moreover, these girls also had to be above a 3rd-grade talent. The number of 3rd-grade talents in the population was only a mere 1%. This already excluded the vast majority of women. Finally, the 12 pure yin girls all had to be beautiful women below the age of 20, and also had to have the body of a virgin. To cultivate martial arts, one's spirit had to be joyful and unobstructed. If the girl's appearance was too ugly, then those martial arts cultivators would not be moved. How could they possibly depend on these ugly girls to break through their cultivation bottleneck? To be at least a 3rd-grade talent, below 20 years old, a beauty, virgin, and more harsh horoscope requirements, this caused the gathering of 12 pure yin girls to be very difficult to find. There were some Acacia faction disciples who had attempted to collect 12 pure yin girls. They spent several years looking, and finally found them with great difficulty. However, the first girl's age would have already surpassed 20 years. However, in terms of looking for 12 pure yin girls, the Allied Trade Association had an unmatched superior advantage. This was because the Allied Trade Association was involved in almost all areas of business, and one of their biggest ones was the slave trade. In the Sky Spill Continent, slave trading was a common occurrence. There were many poor families that had children they could not raise, so they would sell these children, who would eventually become something like a maid, concubine, servant, eunuch, and other occupations. During times of war, the massive numbers of captives and refugees were often turned into servants and slaves. Chapter 145 Heretical Godseed. Chapter 145 Heretical Godseed. Chapter 145 Heretical Godseed. The Allied Trade Association was responsible for the slave trade of several nations. Since they could choose from so many young girls, It was relatively easy to collect 12 pure yin girls. Before, the Allied Trade Association had spent many years and finally collected 2 sets of 12 pure yin girls, 24 altogether. These 24 girls were given to the Acacia faction's third elder, Ouyang Boyon. This was the reason that Ouyang Boyon had traded away the secret cultivation method Divine Acacia Power 12 pure yin girls. How many have you found? Ouyang Dehua's heart moved. If he could pick up 12 pure yin girls, his strength would take a great step further. I've already found 6. Zhong Guanyu nonsensically said. In fact, it was just the other day that he had determined Lan Yunyu could be a primer. To find 11 other girls based on Lan Yunyue's horoscope while conforming to a list of other conditions was easier said than done. The order had just been passed out. He estimated that there were only 1 or 2 girls that were found so far. The first girls were the easiest. Unfortunately, those behind them were much harder to find. 6. Humph, well, I do not care if it's true or not. A year later, I want to see the complete set of 12 pure yin girls. I do not need their appearance and talent to be higher than this woman in the painting, but they cannot be too bad. With Lan Yunyue's beautiful appearance and superior third-grade talent combined, in the civilian population, she was absolutely 1 in a million. To collect 12 girls of such high quality, and also conform to the horoscope, was simply impossible. Therefore Ouyang Dehua could only reduce the requirements. Young sir, please feel relieved. I only have a small favor to ask. Millimeter speak. Ouyang Dehua already expected that the reason Zhong Guanyu came today was to ask him to handle some matters. Otherwise, why would he help him collect 12 pure yin girls for no reason at all? This search was a massive undertaking in terms of manpower and resources. I would like to become a secret disciple of Elder Ouyang. I also hope for young sir to put in a few good words for me. A secret disciple, Ouyang Dehua slightly hesitated. Zhong Guanyu's talent was just above 5th grade. There was still a disparity in qualifications to become a secret disciple of a 7 Profound Valleys elder. Thinking this, Ouyang Dehua said, "My uncle is in seclusion. When he comes out in a month, I will take you to see him. As to whether or not he decides to take you, it is all up to his decision." Zhong Guanyu was delighted in his heart. He said, thank you. Don't rush to be happy. I can clearly discern what gratitude and grudges are. Since I've received your gift, then if you have troubles, I might be able to help you. As to whether or not my uncle will teach you a high-level cultivation method, that's not something I can control. I understand. If it is convenient for young sir, perhaps young sir would like to ride together with me on the Heavenly Wind Eagle to Sky Fortune Kingdom, and take a look at whether there are any women that conform to young sir's standards. Young sir will definitely find it possible to stay in the Sky Fortune Kingdom and find women to cultivate with. I will help gather them up, and can absolutely guarantee satisfaction. Ouyang Dehua's eyes shined. Going to Sky Fortune Kingdom would be quite good. He had already bored himself with the Heavenly Wind Nation. It was time to sample a different taste. And, he just so happened to remember that there was a superior 4th grade talent who he had noticed in the Sky Fortune Kingdom, a young girl whose last name was Bai. On this trip, he might as well collect her too. Thinking this, Ouyang Dehua obscenely smiled and said, "Good, then I'll go with you on this trip." As soon as he obtained Ouyang Dehua's affirmation, Zhong Guanyu grinned, savagely smiling. Lin Ming, let's see how you will manage this. No matter how fierce you are, compared to you, I have the support of Ouyang Dehua. Do you also have the ability to deal with him? I'll have a look when you try to rebel against Ouyang Dehua, and are stamped to death beneath his boot. Win against me in 4 months. Then I will force the date of that decisive battle to 3 months. I will use the life-severing Deathbone Blade to ruin your vitality and make you permanently disabled. I wonder how you will maintain the myth of your talent then. Millimeter. Emperor's Banquet. Lin Ming had just received the Crown Prince's sound-transmitting talisman. 10 days later at the Imperial Palace, there would be a grand banquet held, and there were even some important personages of the 7 Profound Valleys that would be attending. The Crown Prince wanted Lin Ming to attend by all means. Important figures of the 7 Profound Valleys, Lin Ming pondered. He had never seen someone from the 7 profound valleys before. Although he did not really like such flashy events like banquets, Lin Ming would certainly become a core disciple of the 7 profound martial house soon. Since an important figure from the 7 profound valleys came, he was inclined to participate. It was not only Lin Ming, but all the strong youths of the younger generation in Sky Fortune City had received an invitation, including Qin Xingxuan, Bai Jingyun, Murongzi, Ling Sen, Ta Ku, as well as the rest of the 7 profound martial house core disciples and so on. The entire Sky Fortune City had been undergoing a mass cleaning. The streets were cleaned, the drains were emptied, the gardens pruned, and colored ribbons were hung along the streets of the main road. Lin Ming was immersed in practice, so he did not know, but those who hated him would aim for him at this grand banquet. At this time, the bright moon was high and clear in the night sky. Lin Ming held the heavy profound soft spear in one hand, keeping the spear parallel to his arm and pressed against his elbow. The 9-foot 9-inch, 1200 Jin heavy profound soft spear was steadily kept horizontal as it was held by Lin Ming. A bowl of water was lying flat on the spear point, with no trace of a ripple. This stance was one that Lin Ming had practiced countless times before. The foundation spear technique's iron bridge blocks the river. Lin Ming kept his eyes closed. The tiny units in his body began to adjust to a strange frequency, and all the innermost feelings in his heart were completely ethereal. He did not have the least bit of distracting thoughts. To an onlooker, he was simply like a motionless rock under the moonlit sky. The night winds blew, and the grass undulated like overlapping waves. A bean-sized green firefly quietly landed on the edge of the bowl on the spear point, and began to drink from that bowl of water. It could be seen that not a single ripple spread in it. Then, Lin Ming slowly opened his eyes. In these 5 days, he had already completely fused as one with the heavy profound soft spear. Extending the spear was the same as moving his arm. Even if a tiny bug fell on it, he could clearly feel it. The bug was oblivious as it continued to drink water. After drinking enough, it flapped its wings and flew away. Lin Ming returned to his ethereal martial intent state and began revolving the true primal chaos formula again. Lin Ming was becoming increasingly skilled at the ethereal martial intent state. Now he could enter at any time and wake up at any time. It wasn't like before where, once he entered the ethereal martial intent state, he would not know what hour it was. Slowly, the circulation speed of the true essence in Lin Ming's body began to pick up. Each time true essence circulated past the heart, there would always be a little bit of true essence that silently stayed there, detained. As true essence began to accumulate there, it gradually began to revolve. Slowly, a true essence crystal the size of a grain congealed in that maelstrom of true essence. Because of the formation of this tiny crystal, the flow of true essence sped up, and there was a faint feeling of approaching the peak of the second layer of the true primal chaos formula. Large success of the true primal chaos formula's second layer. With the upgrade of the true primal chaos formula, Lin Ming's muscles and skeleton began to slowly start vibrating. The countless tiny units in his body began to achieve an extraordinary harmonization. Although Lin Ming had already cultivated flow like silk, it had never been like was right now. He had a completely clear feeling of his true essence being turned into filaments, and he could even perceive the specific number of filament. There are a full 5,000 true essence filaments. This number appeared in Lin Ming's mind. His flow like silk was at the foundation stage, and his true essence was able to be divided into 5,000 true essence filaments. If these 5,000 true essence filaments pierced into a rock, in theory, it could cause 5,000 points of destruction. If all those points were destroyed, the rock would be broken into several thousand pieces. If the target was a person, they would truly meet a cruel death. Although the true primal chaos formula had further advanced along with his flow like silk, Lin Ming still maintained a state of neither being happy nor sad. The small true essence crystal in his heart began to unceasingly condense, and from its original rough and irregular shape, it began to slowly round, until it eventually condensed into a small, pearl-like crystal pellet. This is the heretical God Force's seed. Lin Ming knew that the series of changes in his body just now were all because of the formation of this heretical God seed. The heretical God seed was the foundation of the heretical God Force. The heretical God force was the most precious and mysterious secret technique in the memories of that second soul fragment. Even the powerhouses in the realm of the gods thought that it was an incomparably amazing skill. Obviously it was that powerful. The first layer of the heretical God force could enhance one's strength and true essence force by 50%. The second layer could enhance by 100%, the third layer by 150%, and so on until the sixth layer, where it could enhance a martial artist's strength and true essence force by 300%. This kind of enhancement depended on the compression of true essence. To promote one's power by 50%, one had to compress their true essence by 50%. To promote one's power by 100%, one had to compress their true essence by 100%. And this true essence compression precisely relied upon this heretical God seed. As long as the heretical God seed existed, if the compressed true essence was used up, it would automatically build up by itself. Lin Ming did not need to manage it. Lin Ming had inadvertently spent a long time in the ethereal martial intent state, and now, finally, he had planted this seed of the heretical God force into his heart. Before a martial artist achieved the pulse condensation period, their blood and vitality were the foundation, and the heart, which was at center of all this, was the main weakness. But after achieving the pulse condensation period, the meridians were the foundation, and the dantian was the center of this, so that also became a weakness. Lin Ming's heretical God force seed now existed in his heart. After he broke through to the pulse condensation period, this seed would move to his dantian. After the heretical God force had broken through to the first layer, Lin Ming put away the heavy profound soft spear. He placed one hand between his eyebrows, and the other gently pressed into his dantian, and then spat out a long breath. This breath was the same as an arrow flying out. It created a whirlpool in the air that rotated for several breaths of time before finally slowly dissipating. I didn't think that this breakthrough of the heretical God force would have so many unexpected benefits for me. It seems this heretical God force is not only a mystic technique that increases one's power, but it is also helpful for martial arts cultivation. The heretical God seed that is in my heart is conducive to stabilizing the blood and compacting true essence. Lin Ming was a bit surprised, but he also felt quite relaxed about this. After all, this could be regarded as one of the top secret abilities even within the realm of the gods. How could it not have some special effects? Chapter 146 Sorrowful by Jingyun. Chapter 146 Sorrowful by Jingyun. Chapter 146 Sorrowful by Jingyun. The true primal chaos formula has reached the large success stage of the second layer. Flow like silk has split into 5,000 filaments, and the cultivation of my early altering muscle stage has been greatly consolidated. It's about time that I finally drew up the strife seal. The two body inscription symbols that Lin Ming had chosen were the essence gathering symbol and the strife seal. The former was able to speed up one's cultivation by increasing the rate one gathered true essence at, and the latter was able to enhance one's strength. He had already successfully drawn up the essence gathering symbol. At that time, he was only at the peak viscera training stage. To draw up that essence gathering symbol, he had overtaxed his soul force and true essence, causing himself to fall into a deep slumber for 3 days and 3 nights. For safety purposes, he had put aside the strife seal for the moment. But now, his cultivation had already stabilized at the altering muscle stage. In addition to his true primal chaos formula reaching large success of the second layer, it would be much easier to draw up the strife seal when compared to before. Lin Ming placed the heavy profound soft spear in this spatial ring, closed the door to his cabin and hung up a do not disturb plaque. After that, he lay in bed and fell into a deep sleep for several hours until dawn. Lin Ming rose from bed, washed himself, ate a meal and also drank some water. Then he sat for a period, drinking tea, before he stood up and washed his hands, burned incense, bathed, and eliminated all the distracting thoughts in his heart. He let his mind become completely ethereal, while adjusting his mindset to its optimum condition. The creation of this inscription symbol was very important to Lin Ming. The materials used to draw up the strife seal were more precious than those used in drawing up the essence gathering symbol. Because several materials were exceedingly hard to find, Lin Ming was not able to prepare any backups. Thus, he could not allow any room for failure. A single mistake here would be the end of it all. Lin Ming used half an hour to adjust his condition, and then he finally began to draw up the strife seal. This one drawing of an inscription symbol lasted from morning to evening. Throughout, Lin Ming did not make a single error. Not only did the ethereal martial intent state have a remarkable effect on cultivation, but it was similarly effective when drawing up an inscription symbol. Because he was able to remain fully in the ethereal state, his heart did not have even the slightest distraction, so Lin Ming was able to constantly maintain the highest degree of concentration. When an average person excessively consumed their soul force, they would experience a dizzying vertigo and a desire to fall asleep. In Lin Ming's case, he was still able to maintain his best condition. As the setting sun descended across the mountain horizon, Lin Ming had finally drawn the last symbols and lines. In the air, several shining inscription symbols glowed like a crimson sunset of nirvana. They began to slowly blend together into one, and in that moment, it was surpassingly gorgeous. After half an incense stick of time, the inscription symbol finally completely fused, and the strife seal symbol turned into a stream of light that quickly submerged into the back of Lin Ming's hand. It ultimately condensed into a runic image of a flying dragon and phoenix. Normally, an inscription symbol's runic mark would give a sense of an ancient mystery. However, this strife seal mark was more similar to calligraphy. It vaguely appeared like the archaic character for fight, and each stroke was long and thorough, and seemed to have a faintly sharp imposing momentum, just like a long spear. In drawing up the strife seal, Lin Ming had consumed an enormous amount of resources. His true essence was still abundant, but his soul force was taxed beyond its limit. He managed to drink down some water, and went straight to sleep. This slumber lasted for 1 day and 1 night. After waking, Lin Ming's tummy rumbled. He was very hungry and there was a sharp aching pain in his head. After he ate a meal, he sat in meditation. Lin Ming did not continue cultivating, but instead went to the 7 profound martial house's strength measuring room. The role of the strike seal was simple. It was to directly improve the physical strength true essence force of a martial artist, and thus heighten their combat prowess. Lin Ming wanted to see just how much this strife seal increased his fighting strength. As he chose a corner of the strength measuring room to measure his strength, he approached the stone column and took a deep breath. His whole body started to flood with true essence, and true essence rushed into his right hand. The strife seal began to issue a faint red light, as if the circulating blood underneath was visible. Ho! Lin Ming cried out and let loose a punch. There was a dull thumping noise, as if the stone column was struck by an iron hammer, and continued to tremble crazily. The light beam was like a fountain as it rushed up. It unexpectedly rushed to the height of a person. The final result, 7,200 jins. 7,200 jins. Lin Ming's eyes brightened as he saw this result. This had already far exceeded Ling Sen's casual strike. Ling Sen had once hit a random punch with a result of 4,900 jins. Even if at that time he had only used some of his strength, Ling Sen's full force should be no more than 6,100 jins. Lin Ming's result was more than 1,000 jins above this. When a martial artist arrived at the peak pulse condensation period, their fist strength would be around 8,000 jins. There were a minority of those who had inborn divine strength, whose fist strength might reach 10,000 jins. With Lin Ming's 7,200 jins of fist strength, he was already close to the strength of a peak pulse condensation period martial artist. He had successfully completed the strife seal and the essence gathering symbol, reached the true primal chaos formula's large success of the second layer, comprehended the concept of wind, broken through to the altering muscle stage, and also had successfully condensed the heretical god seed. As for the pulse-cutting palm, it was simple enough. It was originally not a powerful martial art, and Lin Ming had already mastered it. He had completed most everything he had needed, and it had only been 2 months since the core disciple test had begun. There was plenty of time. Lin Ming took a deep breath, and was filled with confidence. Compared to the last time he had participated in the 10,000 killing array, he now had the strife seal, heavy profound soft spear, heretical god force, and had furthered his cultivation of the true primal chaos formula and flow like silk. Even if he faced Zhong Guanyu now, Lin Ming had a tremendous assurance that he would win. Once I defeat Zhong Guanyu, I can obtain a 500-year-old bloodlingji. It will be very beneficial to my vitality. This Zhong Guanyu is a sinister and deceitful person. I have no idea what sort of malicious plot he will try to conjure to deal with me. It's best if I challenge him earlier and waste him to avoid further complications. Time flew. In a moment, it was already the day of the Imperial Palace's grand banquet. The entire Imperial Palace was decorated in a festive occasion, bright and merry. The palace security had increased, and it was heavily guarded. On the main road to the Imperial Palace, there was a red carpet hundreds of meters long. There were beautiful maids that had undergone careful screening that walked around, offering a variety of cuisines to the guests. Today, those that arrived were prominent figures in Sky Fortune City. There were the young, handsome, and outstanding heroes, the top 10 ranked heavenly abode disciples of the Seven Profound Martial House, the core disciples of the Seven Profound Martial House, and some whose strength was ordinary, but were the young talents of the large and respected families. In addition, the princesses and princes, including Crown Prince Yang Lin and Cloud Prince Yang Zhen, had all arrived on scene. However, these two were not the main guest today. Not even the dazzling stars Lin Ming and Qin Xingxuan were the main guests. The main guest today was a special envoy from the Seven Profound Valleys. But who this special envoy was, the guests present did not know. The emperor arrives. As the eunuch announced this, all of the maids and palace ladies kneeled down in abundance. However, the guests did not need to. It was fine as long as they bowed. Lin Ming looked up and saw an old man walk into the hall wearing a crown with 9 stars, a 5-fingered dragon robe, and golden dragon boots. Although this old man was wearing mighty and impressive attire, it still could not conceal the heavy depression and gloom on his forehead. His eyes were almost buried in wrinkles and the loose flesh on his neck had begun to break down. There were faint age spots on his temples. He looked to be at least 70 years old. This old man was the ruler of Sky Fortune Kingdom, Emperor Yang Jian. Yang Jian did not have many male children. Those male children he did have came at a late age. That was why when his several sons had finally grown up, he had already arrived at the end of his life. This was the first time that Lin Ming saw the Emperor of Sky Fortune Kingdom. On this emperor's body, there was not royal air of purple air comes from the east. Instead, there was only a lethargic, deathly gas. Yang Jian apparently had no intentions of greeting the guests. He arrived at the banquet hall and sat at the seat of honor, and then closed his eyes in repose. This Yang Jian probably only has 4 or 5 years of life left, and that was all maintained by precious medicines and being carefully nursed to health by the best doctors. If he were an ordinary person and had reached this degree, he would have already died. As Lin Ming thought this, he inadvertently caught a glimpse of Bai Jingyun standing in a corner of the banquet hall. Bai Jingyun was wearing a formal black dress, and seemed to have lost all of her usually calm temperament. Today she appeared somewhat anxious and disturbed. There was a young noble youth that approached Bai Jingyun, but Bai Jingyun did not seem to notice his existence. Bai Jingyun, she seems worried about something. Although Lin Ming thought something was strange, he did not care too much. Then, Murongzi walked over to Bai Jingyun's side carrying a glass of juice. She shoved that incessantly chattering young noble youth to the side. "Big sister Jingyun, how are you? Are you uncomfortable?" "I'm all right." Bai Jingyun barely smiled, and tried to say a few relieving words. At this moment, the court eunuch reported, Seven Profound Valleys Acacia faction elder's direct disciple, Mr. Ouyang. Hearing this called out, Bai Jingyun's hands and feet instantly went ice cold. Ouyang of the Acacia faction, it was really him. "What?" Murongzi asked, unclear. "Hurry up and leave here, or else it will be too late," Bai Jingyun said with some panic. "What? Why?" "This Ouyang de Hua is a sexual harasser. Do you remember last time at the Crown Prince's banquet where I said I could not take responsibility for my own marriage? It was all because of him." As Bai Jingyun said this, Murongzi suddenly recalled that event in her mind. When the Crown Prince had invited Lin Ming to his banquet, Bai Bai Jingyun had jokingly told her to marry Lin Ming. Murongzi teased her back and asked why she didn't marry Lin Ming herself. Finally, Bai Jingyun had said she was no longer able to call the shots of her own marriage. Murongzi had thought this was strange. With Bai Jingyun's special status, how could she possibly be unable to take responsibility and decide her own marriage? That was because the other party was a direct disciple of a 7 Profound Valleys elder. A direct disciple's status was on equal standing with a 7 Profound envoy or the martial housemasters of various countries. But because a direct disciple was often closely related to an elder, in an actual situation, even a 7 Profound envoy or martial housemaster had to show 3 points of respect. Although Murongzi was usually heartless and fearless, and was not scared of either the heavens or earth, she still understood that this kind of person was not someone that her Murong family could even hope to contend with. But she could not just leave and abandon Bai Jingyun to suffer for herself. She simply did not have the heart to do that. Big sister Jingyun. Quickly leave. Bai Jingyun said urgently. Acacia faction disciples most favored those with looks and outstanding talents. If Murongzi were discovered by Ouyang Duhua, in all likelihood he would be eyeing her. Murongzi bit her lip, kept her head down, and quickly walked towards the palace restroom. Chapter 147 I'll waste you tonight. Chapter 147 I'll waste you tonight. Chapter 147 I'll waste you tonight. Damn it, Yang Zhan. Murongzi clenched her teeth, heart filled with hate. Although the grand banquet was held at the imperial palace, the one responsible for organizing it was the Cloud Prince, Yang Zhan. It was no wonder that before tonight, no one knew the identity of the great guest from the 7 Profound Valleys. It seemed that Yang Zhan had already taken Ouyang Dehua's side, and offered to help him look for beautiful women. When Ouyang Dehua arrived on scene, he immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. Even the emperor slightly rose and nodded. But the first person Ouyang Dehua laid his eyes upon was Lin Ming. He diabolically smiled at him with a thoughtful expression. Seeing Ouyang Dehua look at him, Lin Ming frowned. This look was obviously the same as when someone at a superior standing looked down upon someone beneath them. It was a look filled with mockery and pity. As Ouyang Dehua slowly came on stage, his eyes took in the entire room. His eyes slightly paused upon Bai Jingyun, Wang Yuhan, and even Qin Xingxuan's body before leaving. This slight pause filled Bai Jingyun with trembling anxiousness. This was bad. Even Yuhan had been dragged in. Qin Xingxuan had no fear because she was already a core disciple of the 7 Profound martial house. Although her status was lower than Ouyang Dehua's, in light of her reputation as a 6th-grade talent, Ouyang Dehua would not attempt to aggress on her. In the future, Qin Xingxuan was very likely to become a direct disciple of some elder from the 7 Profound Valleys. But Wang Yuhan was different. In the front of Ouyang Dehua, she had no deep background to protect herself with. Ouyang Dehua coughed to clear his throat, and said, I am delighted to be here at Sky Fortune Kingdom. Tonight, I am very happy that I am able to meet all the elites of the Sky Fortune Kingdom. The reason I came to the Sky Fortune Kingdom today is mainly to look at the major developments in the Sky Fortune Kingdom, and take a look at the strong, young heroes of this great country. In addition, the 7 Profound envoy of the Sky Fortune Kingdom will be returning to the main sect. So, for these next 6 months, I will be temporarily substituting as the 7 Profound envoy. As Ouyang Dehua said this, Bai Jingyun felt an immediate burst of painful dizziness. Ouyang Dehua was actually going to be the Sky Fortune Kingdom's 7 Profound envoy. This was simply dire news that couldn't have gotten any worse. She already expected that the next 6 months would be the nightmare of all the beautiful girls within Sky Fortune City. All the girls with even a bit of fame, like Murongzi or Wang Yuhan, would become Ouyang Dehua's target. Even if they wanted to hide, they could not. They were already too famous. It was possible that even before Ouyang Dehua had come to the Sky Fortune Kingdom, that he had already set a goal and decided that Murongzi and Wang Yuhan were to be his prey. In the winding corridor outside of the banquet hall, Murongzi heard Ouyang Dehua's opening statement. She now knew. There was simply no meaning in hiding. The reason that Ouyang de Hua had come to Sky Fortune Kingdom as the 7 profound envoy was because of them. Murongzi clenched her teeth and thought aloud, "You damn sexual harasser, if you dare to make a move on me or lay a finger on my body, I will cut off your D*CK and I will die with you." After Crown Prince Yang Lin heard this news, he also didn't look very good. He knew that this banquet was arranged by his 10th younger brother, the Cloud Prince. What did it mean that Ouyang de Hua's welcoming had been arranged by Yang Zhen? It was obvious that Yang Zhen had already managed to make some sort of deal ahead of time with Ouyang de Hua concerning the future throne. Today, Yang Zhen had not hesitated to conceal the identity of Ouyang de Hua, and invited so many beautiful daughters of great and respected families. This was a great offense to all those families. The reason he could do this was because Ouyang de Hua would take over the role of the 7 profound envoy, and thus Yang Zhen had found a backer. Yang Lin certainly knew that Zhong Guanyu and Yang Zhen were close. Without a doubt, these two had formed an alliance, and the one who had promoted them to form this alliance was Lin Ming. Lin Ming was the common enemy of Yang Zhen and Zhong Guanyu. In all likelihood, the one that had invited Ouyang de Hua was Zhong Guanyu. To somehow manage to obtain him as their backer, he could not imagine what sort of price that Zhong Guanyu had paid for this. Thinking of this, Yang Lin took a deep breath. When he had obtained Lin Ming's support, he thought that he had already won half the battle. But, after experiencing Zhong Guanyu and Yang Zhen's latest move, he had already lost the game before he could think of a comeback. Whether it was Zhong Guanyu or Yang Zhen, they were not people that would easily concede. How was it possible that they would sit and wait to die just because of Lin Ming? Lin Ming noted the change in Yang Lin's expression, as well as Zhong Guanyu and Yang Zhen's faces filled with elation, and immediately understood that this was because of Ouyang de Hua. It was now clear to him why as soon as Ouyang de Hua had walked in, he had looked at Lin Ming like a cat that was teasing a mouse. So that's how it is. I was the mouse. Lin Ming's expression didn't change, and he was still calmly sitting in his chair as he was before. But at this moment, Zhong Guanyu, swinging his fan, walked over to the Crown Prince. Lin Ming and the Crown Prince were sitting very near each other, and Zhong Guanyu's gaze fell upon Lin Ming. There was unhappiness implied in that look, as if it were the exact same expression that Ouyang de Hua had, of a cat playing with a mouse. If one were to think there was something different about it, it would be that there was a hint of murderous intent lurking beneath that smiling facade. "Crown Prince, Your Highness." Zhong Guanyu bowed. "Sir Zhong." Although Yang Lin wished to kill Zhong Guanyu in his heart, Yang Lin maintained his friendly and smiling demeanor. "Crown Prince, Your Highness, it seems that Lan Yunyu, Miss Lan, is in the Crown Prince's palace. Mr. Ouyang would like to see Miss Lan. I was wondering what Your Highness thought of this." Although Zhong Guanyu spoke quietly, how could Lin Ming, who was sitting by the side of the Crown Prince, not hear? Although Lan Yunyu no longer had anything to do with Lin Ming, this disgusting Zhong Guanyu repeatedly kept trying to use this matter to attack Lin Ming's heart of martial arts in vain. Lin Ming only felt as if there was a blowfly flying around it. It was just annoying and extremely bothersome. As soon as Yang Lin heard Zhong Guanyu say this, there was a slight change in his expression, but it was immediately restored to a congenial smile. "I'm truly sorry, but this prince has already sent Miss Lan away. As to where she has gone, even this prince does not know." Zhong Guanyu cunningly laughed, smiled, and said, "Your Highness, since I came to such an important person as yourself, that means that I have obtained accurate news. I'm not a person that likes to beat around the bush, so I will give Your Highness some advice. Lan Yunyu is very important to Mr. Ouyang's cultivation. Mr. Ouyang has already expressed that he will be single-mindedly focused on his cultivation and has no intention to participate in the struggle for the throne. As long as Your Highness the Crown Prince hands over Lan Yunyu, then Mr. Ouyang will remain neutral in Your Highness and the Cloud Prince's struggle for the throne. I wonder what the Crown Prince thinks of this." As Zhong Guanyu said this, Lin Ming's face sank. He could not help but admire how truly tricky, insidious, and utterly vicious this Zhong Guanyu was. He was trying to alienate the Crown Prince's relationship with Lin Ming. The present situation was that the Crown Prince did not want Ouyang de Hua as his enemy. This matter was because of Lin Ming. If Lin Ming and Zhong Guanyu were not enemies, then he would not resort to having Ouyang de Hua personally appear, and thus let the 10th prince have the support of a future 7 profound envoy. This attack on the crown prince's influence was simply too drastic. In other words, the crown prince had looked towards Lin Ming to help him, but instead, not only had he not benefited from their relationship, but he had ended up following the devil. If it was anyone else, they would have already readily trampled Lin Ming underneath their foot. At this moment, Zhong Guanyu had offered Ouyang de Hua's neutrality as bait. Even though the crown prince knew perfectly well that his was an attempt to alienate him and Lin Ming, he was unable to reject, because the threat of Ouyang de Hua was simply too big. The crown prince did not dare to disobey him. This move of Zhong Guanyu's could only be described as vicious. He was slowly trying to isolate Lin Ming. Zhu Yang was the best example. The reason why Zhu Yang had ended up in such a miserable state was because of Lin Ming's great strength, which caused the 10th prince and the Zhu family to fear Lin Ming, so they had directly expelled Zhu Yang from the family. Now, Zhong Guanyu was trying to deal with Lin Ming in a similar method, and had brought out Ouyang de Hua. Not only would Lin Ming fail the 7 profound martial house's core disciple test, but he would also lose the backing and asylum of the crown prince, and eventually follow the same fate as Zhu Yang. After Zhong Guanyu said these words, Yang Lin could no longer maintain his calm. If he could think of this, then Lin Ming could also think of this. Zhong Guanyu, what a sinister villain. Yang Lin cursed angrily in his mind. He couldn't help but glance at Lin Ming. Lin Ming indifferently said, Lan Yunyu was originally rescued by Your Highness the Crown Prince. In that case, I have no right to interfere with Your Highness' decision. Your Highness, please decide on your own. Yang Lin took a deep breath. Even though he was usually calm, at this moment his palms were oozing with sweat. He had a faint foreboding feeling that this would be the most important decision in his entire life, whether he decides to stand by Lin Ming's side, or willingly submit to the Sky Fortune Kingdom's 7 profound envoy Ouyang de Hua. There was a deep silence that lasted for a full 10 breaths of time, before Yang Lin finally said, My influence is inferior to my 10th younger brother, my military force is inferior to my 10th younger brother, and my finances are inferior to my 10th younger brother. When I was at my lowest, and all I had was inferior to my 10th younger brother, Brother Lin chose to stand on my side and support me in my difficult position. I, Yang Lin, will always bear the timely graciousness when he helped me in my heart. Since ancient times, emperors have been ambitious and fierce. According to that, perhaps I may not be suitable to be an emperor, but if one day I were to really ascend to the throne, then I would surely regard the officials as my brothers, and the common citizens as my own benevolent parents. Even though Yang Lin's remarks placed him a terribly unfavorable situation, he still said it. As Lin Ming heard this, his heart moved. He also had not expected Yang Lin to suddenly utter these words. Even in this kind of situation, Yang Lin had continued to stand by his side, and revolted against Ouyang de Hua, the 7 profound envoy. Depending on just this, Yang Lin was truly a person worth knowing. If an emperor took an official as a brother, the official would take the emperor as a friend. If the emperor regarded the official as worthless, then the official would regard the emperor as a foe. Now, Lin Ming had completely decided to help Yang Lin ascend the throne. The Sky Fortune Kingdom was Lin Ming's home, and his family was still here. Naturally, he hoped that his country would also have a kind and just ruler. Oh, so Your Highness does not plan on handing over Lan Yunyu? Zhong Guanyu smiled as he asked. But this time, not far behind from Zhong Guanyu, Ouyang de Hua was also looking in their direction. He was smiling, but his smile was a bit cold. This prince has said that Miss Lan is no longer in the palace. Haha, since Your Highness the Crown Prince says so, then would you dare to allow people to search? Presumptuous. Hihi, of course I would not dare to search myself. But, what if this was Mr. Ouyang's order? As Zhong Guanyu said this, the Crown Prince's complexion changed. If Ouyang de Hua wished to search the palace, there was nothing he could do. At this moment, the thick tension in the room was palpable. The entire banquet hall had turned to watch this unfold. Suddenly, Lin Ming opened his mouth to say, Sir Zhong, I suddenly recalled that there was the matter of a duel between us. Li Ming's idea was very simple. Since Zhong Guanyu had formed an alliance and found someone to deal with him, Then he who struck the first blow would have the advantage. Tonight, he would duel Zhong Guanyu and utterly waste him, so that he could no longer play such clever little tricks again. Chapter 148 Better Today Than Tomorrow. Chapter 148 Better Today Than Tomorrow. Chapter 148 Better Today Than Tomorrow. Haha, if Mr. Lin did not remind me, then I would have also forgotten. Yes, there is a match between us. I was hoping to make a gambling bet with Mr. Lin, but what a pity, Mr. Lin did not dare to accept. Unfortunately, in half a month I must go to the 7 Profound Valleys to pay a visit to the third elder of the Acacia faction, Elder Ouyang. Elder Ouyang will assess whether I can become an official disciple. Thus, I might not have time to duel with Mr. Lin. If I by some fluke luckily obtain Elder Ouyang's favor, then I might have to stay at the 7 Profound Valleys for a very long time. If Mr. Lin actually must duel with me, then it must be within this half-month. I wonder if Mr. Lin dares to? Zhong Guanyu kept a smile on his face throughout. He had already thought of all the contingencies, and had a considerable certainty that he could force Lin Ming to challenge him within this half-month. Then, he would have the confidence to severely wound and disable him with the divine Acacia Power's most vicious move, the life-severing Dead Bone Blade. If that happened, then this Lin Ming would no longer be able to cultivate the path of martial art. Fighting with me will be the stupidest decision you ever make in your entire life, you 15-year-old imbecilic child. I will make you regret ever being born into this world. The woman you once loved will be taken away to be used as a furnace to help cultivate. You will fall from the altar of geniuses, you will lose your martial arts, lose your loved ones, lose your parents, and also be expelled from your family. By that time, I can deal with you in any way I want to. I will break your hands and feet, and raise you in my manners pigsty as a pig, and every day I will feed you the same garbage that the pigs eat while I screw all the women that you once knew in front of you. I will make it so that you cannot die even as you hope for death, and can only beg me to kill you. Ha 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 ha. Zhong Guanyu had already imagined Lin Ming's future sad and pathetic demise in his mind. The corners of his mouth fiercely widened. He not only wanted to kill Lin Ming, but he also wanted him to live his life in despair, so that he would be no worse than the pigs and dogs. After those present heard Zhong Guanyu's words, they became deeply aware of the cunning behind his words. This time was also 1.5 months from the 4-month period of time that the 7 Profound Valleys had predetermined. That Zhong Guanyu had prepared to pay a visit to Ouyang Boyan in half a month was very likely his plan as well. Perhaps he believed that he could not grasp victory in a month and a half, and so he had forced Lin Ming to fight against him within the next half-month. Many of those present knew of the relationship between Ouyang Boyan and Ouyang Dihua. After they heard Zhong Guanyu say this, they all turned to look at Ouyang Dihua. Ouyang Dihua nodded, confirming this news. I wonder what means this Zhong Guanyu used to impress Ouyang Dihua, that he would have him assessed to be a secret disciple. This is truly disgraceful. Zhong Guanyu seems to be afraid of Lin Ming. Like this, he has already lost all of his momentum. What does it matter if he loses his momentum? It's still better than being beaten shitless under the eyes of everyone. As long as he can defeat Lin Ming, his spirit will not be obstructed. If his spirit can flow, then his true essence will flow, and his martial arts cultivation will not be too hindered. This Zhong Guanyu truly has a good plan. He set a trap so that Lin Ming could walk into it himself. Lin Ming is a ruthless man, but Zhong Guanyu is not some soft dough to be kneaded. He also has such means to deal with Lin Ming. If I were to face Lin Ming, then I would have admitted defeat long ago. I wonder how Lin Ming will face this dilemma. Let's have a good look at the coming show. I think Lin Ming will just endure this insult. The last time at the 10,000 killing array he was only ranked 6th. The gap between the 6th and 3rd place is just too wide, it's not just a rank. To reach that level in half a month, even if it were Lin Ming, it would be impossible to achieve. Not only that, but Zhong Guanyu has also cultivated the divine Acacia power. How could his strength not have progressed also? Millimeter. I think so too. Those present discussed this matter privately. Lin Ming faintly smiled, and covered the teacup in his hand. He said, "Within a half-month. The truth is, I do not need half a month. Today is better than tomorrow. So, let's make it today. How about we go to the military field now?" Millimeter? Zhong Guanyu was suddenly surprised. Was Lin Ming insane? He wanted to duel with him now? As Lin Ming said this, all the guests present were shocked. This included Yang Lin, Wang Yuhan, Qin Xingxuan, and everyone else. This was simply too unexpected. Lin Ming had just participated in the 10,000 killing array assessment not too long ago, and his result had been the 6th rank. Although this result was already legendary, his was still far from being Zhong Guanyu's match. It was impossible for Lin Ming to have caught up in only a few days' worth of time. What is Lin Ming doing? He is simply just courting death. Today is better than tomorrow? This Lin Ming does not even put Zhong Guanyu in his sight. Lin Ming is too arrogant. Although he has some ability, he is just too young and his personality isn't mature enough. All the auras and halos wrapped around this child's body have already blinded him and inflated his self-esteem. Now, he thinks he is already invincible within the younger generation. This time he will fall. Once he falls, he might not be able to get back up. Zhong Guanyu will absolutely use some ruthless method. Perhaps he will keep an eye on an opportunity and disable Lin Ming, so that he will never stand up from this failure in his entire life. Lin Ming probably doesn't know that the first 3 ranks on the ranking stone have an insurmountable gap from the 4th. He thinks that the 6th rank is near the 3rd rank. This 4-month period before the challenge had been personally laid down by the 7 profound martial housemaster. What sort or judgment does he have? He would not irresponsibly set a time. Now it's only been 2.5 months. For Lin Ming to challenge Zhong Guanyu now, he is just too rash. The last one to speak was the 4th-ranked disciple on the ranking stone. He knew that in the future he would be inferior to Lin Ming, but in the present, Lin Ming had just taken the assessment several days ago, and it had shown that Lin Ming's strength hadn't yet overtaken his, much less Zhong Guanyu. Among the people discussing, there were those that were the young, handsome, and outstanding heroes of Sky Fortune City. There were many among them that were jealous of Lin Ming, and looked forward to seeing Lin Ming severely wounded by Zhong Guanyu so that he could not pass the 7 profound martial house core disciple test. If his meridians were damaged, or he was physically disabled, then his cultivation in the future would be severely affected, and he would fall from the altar of geniuses and be unable to recover. Brother Lin, please rethink this. The Crown Prince held down onto Lin Ming's arm, and passed him a message through True Essence: do not act on impulse. If you really fight now, then Zhong Guanyu will inevitably use a heavy hand to viciously hurt you. He now has the support of Ouyang Dihua. Even if he cripples you, he will not receive too severe a punishment. Because of this, he will be even more unscrupulous and reckless. He might even have some possibility of killing you using some extreme method. When masters exchanged blows, especially when it was a situation where they were close in strength, each move would be at full force and very dangerous. If one was not careful, then they could easily be disabled, and even the 7 profound martial house would not punish them. Even if they caused a death, the worst that would happen would be a dismissal by the martial house to the frontier where they would have to work there, or other such punishments. But for Zhong Guanyu, these did not mean anything. Lin Ming said, "Your Highness, I know. These past few days, my strength has progressed. Even if I cannot win against Zhong Guanyu, I have confidence I can safely retreat." Lin Ming had just finished his sentence when his ears rang with sound transmissions one after another. They were from Wang Yuhan, Bai Jingyun, and Qin Xingxuan, all having a similar meaning. They were unanimously urging Lin Ming to not be emotional. Lin Ming stood up and smiled at the 3 girls, indicating that he was fine. Those present were not ordinary people. Their vision and judgment were very accurate. If Lin Ming had only reached the 6th rank on the 10,000 killing array, then it would simply be impossible for him to surpass Zhong Guanyu in half a month. But Lin Ming had only strove for the top 10 rankings of the 10,000 killing array. After obtaining enough points, Lin Ming had looked for the pulse condensation period master to hone his own formidable strength. If he had used his full force to rush up the rankings, he would not necessarily be worse than Zhong Guanyu. Much less. In recent days Lin Ming had cultivated the heretical god force to the large success stage, and the strife seal body inscription symbol had been successful. Even his flow like silk and true primal chaos formula had made breakthroughs. Now his strength was no longer like it was several days ago. Drawing back 10,000 steps, even if he could not defeat Zhong Guanyu, as long as his arms and legs weren't broken, he could easily retreat unscathed. Zhong Guanyu contemptibly smiled, and in his heart he thought, since you want to die, then I will fulfill your wish. Becoming so famous at a young age isn't necessarily a good thing. The disposition is too uncertain, and the young act with childish conduct that is easy to understand. He, I had wanted a way to shock you into challenging me in half a month, but now it looks like I never needed it. You are so stupid that you can't wait even half a month and so wish to live in my pigsty. Such being the case, I will certainly tell the servants to fill the pigsty with pig urine and manure, as a gesture of hospitality towards you. Thinking this, Zhong Guanyu was no longer able to conceal the murderous intention in his eyes. His face revealed a grim and fierce smile. Today is better than tomorrow. Young heroes have always come from the youth. You seem to think that you have already won. We may as well go now. I would like to experience Mr. Lin's moves. I also have this meaning. Lin Ming said with a smile, right, Sir Zhong, the sword and spear have no eyes. Since we are fighting such a decisive battle with all our efforts, it is inevitable that we will accidentally hurt each other. Zhong Guanyu giggled, and then smiled, saying, Mr. Lin is afraid of being hurt. Rest assured, I will watch my strength. Of course I will watch my strength, otherwise if I'm not careful I might suddenly kill you by accident. What fun would there be in that? Lin Ming smiled and said, No, I am not afraid of being hurt, I am just afraid of hurting Sir Zhong. I would not know how to explain that to the Allied Trade Association. My Lin family is a small family, we cannot afford to offend such a major power like the Allied Trade Association. As Lin Ming said this, the facial expressions of those present were quite wonderful. What did he say? He's afraid of hurting Zhong Guanyu and not being able to deal with the Allied Trade Association? This Lin Ming, simply madness. He does now know how to spell the word dead. He wants to anger Zhong Guanyu at such a time? It would not be strange if Zhong Guanyu were to use some insidious move on him. I heard that the Acacia faction's moves were famous for being ruthless and sinister. Those in the audience had seen many things and had many experiences. They had a certain understanding about the Acacia faction's cultivation methods and skills. Zhong Guanyu laughed, Lin Ming, since you say this, then I also have a little fear that you might accidentally hurt me. Haha, then how do you think we should proceed? Zhong Guanyu's ironic tone was obvious, but Lin Ming was unaware. He thought for a moment, smiled, and said, How about we sign a life-death contract? This way, if one of us is wounded or crippled, we cannot be held responsible. How about it? You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.